insane. It's 6 p.m. It's exactly 6 p.m. Get out of here. Time to
That's just what they call me. That's it.
Oh,
no
yeah. Yeah, someone said, wait, is this stream going to start on time? This isn't what I'm used to at all. The power of a stream not run by Joe. Thank you.
I'm like inverse Gandalf. No matter if I'm on time or early, I'm still latte. That's what.
Greetings, everyone. Are you advertising this in Jads?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, no. Okay.
I always do that. Oh, do you not want me to?
Brace. No, it's okay. Brace for impact. What's most important today? Jesus, eggs, bunnies, weed, or Sekimeiya? I'm voting for weed. Make yourselves known in the chat. A little quiet? Who's a little quiet? You got to be more specific.
Maybe it's me. I am speaking a little quietly, actually.
He's mumbling.
Can you do a time duel or whatever? Jelly is stuck in the cube mines. I don't think we do the dolls on Mouse's stream.
We do not do the dolls on Mouse's stream, no. Is this a zooted mouse stream? I had 2 Kir Royale cocktails, 3, and a glass of wine. So whatever that is. Mouse, can you turn Mouse up a bit and turn Joe down a bit? I don't know what's real and what's a real like it's been so memed at this point that I don't know what's a real sound request and what's fake. I don't know what's real. Can we turn Jelly up? Exactly.
Can someone forcing Joe to only play mysteries, or Mouse is forcing me to come on the stream to read this. Yep.
Hi Mouse, I just got here. Can you turn everyone up to 500% volume and also build a blanket fort on top of the blanket fort and then rent out a professional soundstage? Yeah, absolutely. Holy shit. Okay, well we're thanking people. Okay. So before we begin and before I thank people, can I make Godot louder? Everything we're reading is all Godot. It's Puppeteer Day. It is all Godot every day. Can I turn him up more? Yeah, I can turn him up more. So for those of you who don't know, we're reading the Sekimeiya today. For those of you who don't know about the Sekimeiya, it is a mystery visual novel. And for those of you who don't know this, Godot was here in chat, is the editor. So be nice to him. Be nice to him. And that's all. That's all I'm going to say to introduce it. Joe, do you have any final words?
No, I'm good. I'm just here to read. I'm here to read.
Do you have to be nice to Sekimeiya? No, you do not have to be nice to Sekimeiya. The other important piece of information is that there will be a patch that's an editing pass coming out in the next couple of days, probably, according to Godot. So if you read this yourself, it may look different from what we're reading on stream.
Oh, also, we read the first hour before, but we're going to start again from the beginning because we're so nice to everyone.
Yes, yeah. So we did previously read a little bit on our own, and then we read a little bit on stream, and we decided that to keep everything in order, we will be starting from the beginning. Instead of waiting for Godot, is Godot waiting for you? Yes, unfortunately for him. Okay.
Can we bully Joe, though? 100%, says one of my mods. Okay.
You can bully Joe in my chat, but only if it's like a good-natured kind of bullying. If you're actually mean to him, I will alt-tab and time you out personally and stop the whole stream because of you, so...
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. No, you won't. You won't do it. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yes, I will. Alpha girlfriend. Yeah, alpha girlfriend. That's right. Thank you, Double Jumper. Oh, for the 6-month sub. Really appreciate that. Wow. Stealing every Joe bit, huh? Doing an initial stream of the VN as a one-off, then continuing the stream by repeating the whole first part again. Yeah, so the Sekimeiya fans in the chat are currently living on the copium dream that I will also have the turn of starting by making fun of the Sekimeiya and then loving it and making it my whole personality. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you, Simple from Jads.
Sumari.
Yeah, Sumari. Thank you, Simple from Jazz, for resubbing for 3 months. Thank you. He says hi Mouse and Mouse tangentiate. I think that's you.
Is
Mouse
okay.
tangentiate. Thank you for resubbing Hypothetical Walrus with hi Mouse as the VN expert in the Joe streams. I'm looking forward to this VN that you are clearly recommending by streaming it. That's true. Anything that I say, do, or play on stream is a direct endorsement, and you should take it as such, including legally. And thank you, That Gray Peanut, for 100 bits with Toe. You can't escape me. I will donate to you and your loved ones.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Gray Peanut's here. Okay. All right. Brace for whatever Gray Peanut does, which I don't want to repeat, because it's a comfy, wholesome stream compared to mine.
Are we going to read the whole 12 hours? We're reading the whole thing. So the runtime of the Sekimeiya, if you're Boulder, is about 13 hours. And if you're anyone else, is about 40. So at 4-hour streams once a week, we're going to be doing Sekimeiya Sundays for a while. Anyway.
And I'm here to announce that we're not going to be reading more Umineko until we're done with Sekimeiya.
They're gonna clip that and take it seriously and post it everywhere like it's the gospel. What are you doing?
Do you know there were some people on the Naja VOD that were like actually taking it for real, that I was gonna just drop Baldur's Gate 3, just completely, just stop playing after like glazing it for like 11 streams in a row now? I know, it's funny.
I don't understand. Okay, I don't understand. Moving on. Moving along. Okay, so I'm gonna put it on screen. We're gonna put it on screen. Are we ready? Here we go.
I'm ready to read. I'm here. I'm ready.
Naja in the chat saying you're dropping Baldur's Gate 3. Okay. So we're gonna start with the chat in the lower right hand side. We're gonna maybe I can move it even further down. We're gonna try having chat on screen, in a place that it won't disrupt the text. We're going to be pausing so I can take notes with the note system. And something important for anybody in the chat, such as Naja or Avarisi or any highlighters watching this later, a lot of the music in this game is it will get you copyright claimed on YouTube, so you might want to take it out because it might get you demonetized if you're doing a highlight video or something. So I don't care because my page isn't monetized, but maybe someday. Would you like to read that?
Excited to see you play this, Joe, but shouldn't you finish the projects you've already committed to before you start a whole new game on your second channel?
Yeah, so Joe will be finishing the Witcher 3 video before reading the Sekimeiya, and then when he's finished with the Witcher 3 video and the Sekimeiya, then he will return to Umineko. But only after you finish every game in all of the series that you've started so far, right?
All the voted games. And you know what? Rain World, it's time. Lock in Rain World.
Perfect.
We got to do it. Yeah, we got to do it. Yeah.
All right. I saw what you said, Caps, and Godot does now have VIP. So Godot has VIP for these streams. Okay.
And Steins Gate. Should I do an evil? Should I do evil? Oh, I could do so evil. Okay, I will finish Steins Gate if you could convince Mouse to read it with me.
What do you mean?
I told you I'm doing evil. I'm doing evil.
Why are you doing this? You want me to read Steins Gate with you?
I just want someone to read Steins Gate with me. I need my emotional
Why do you want to
Mouse
read
get through
Steins Gate?
I don't. I'm just saying those are the conditions. And also $1 million. There you go. Oh, I pulled it back.
What do I get? What do I get? What do I get out of that?
Half of the $1 million. You can have half of $1 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Godot says, basically we contacted a bunch of independent music makers for permission to use their music. Some of them are under record labels. The dev team is not going to DMCA or fuck with you, but we can't control the few record labels involved as their own entities. I've never seen someone get DMCA claimed off a video of this game and only a few auto mutes on Twitch. I can't make any guarantees about YouTube auto claims. So I don't think I followed up with you on this, Godot, but YouTube does auto claim stuff. My sub notifs auto relay is right on top of chat. Well, they complained about it being under chat, so like we'll put it over on the other side then. So Naja's videos did get claimed. So for the first one that we did. So 2 houses in Toronto. Okay. All right. Alerts have been moved. Chat is not over the mini map. There's only one thing left to do before we start, and that is there is a community member called How You Doin'. How You Doin' is the person who ran the epitaph riddle earlier. How You Doin' is the mouse of the Sekimeiya streams, #1 Sekimeiya fan in the chat, except they might have to fight Caps for it. And How You Doin' has a birthday this week. And for his birthday this week, I made one promise. And the promise that I made was to sincerely compliment the Sekimeiya on stream. So here we are. And I will say this. I will say that sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, the note system and the logs are really good, and we're gonna use them. Okay?
That's the one I was gonna do. No.
Pick another one. Absolutely. Pick a struggle.
The note system is really good. I think that when it pops up on the screen later, people are gonna pog. Like seriously.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really good. Yeah.
Yep. You don't think that one should count? That's too bad. Why didn't I steal the transparent overlay style from Joe the way Walrus did? What do you mean? I'm just
overlay.
I'm just a small independent streamer. Okay. So I think the settings should be different. Yeah, we had color text and color speaker to be able to tell who's talking, and a symbol for the speaker. Okay. So I have my voice assignments ready. Do you have your voice assignments ready?
I am Akaro, Kate, and Atsuki.
If you read them out loud, they're gonna complain about spoilers, so I'm not reading mine out loud. Okay. And we're gonna swap off narration, and I'm going to start as narration, right? Is that correct? Does that sound good to you?
I believe so, yeah. And let me know whenever I'm switching over.
Okay. It's just vibes based.
It's vibes based, okay.
Are we ready? I feel like if I did the doles, we'd do those, but I've run out of things to filibuster that aren't that. So are you ready?
Were you supposed to do fan art today?
I was supposed to do fan art today. Fuck, I was supposed to do fan art today. Ah, shit.
Or was it last stream? I can't remember.
No, it was today. No, it was today. It was today.
Well, if it's not ready, it can be next time. It's okay.
Oh man. No. I gotta do them. All right, hold on. Just pause for fan art.
Okay. While you do that, I'm gonna go make you a Trello. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Finn. All right, so we have two pieces of fan art. One of them is relevant to today. I'll show that one second. The second is relevant to the Gnosia streams that have been happening. So if you haven't been here for Gnosia, there is a character in it called Shaming who we fucking hate. And how you doing's boyfriend made a recreation of a fantastic moment on stream, in which we went and talked to Shaming, and he said, "What's wrong, Mouse? You get attacked or something? Better watch your step, or you just might be." And I said, "Thank you, Shaming. Very cool." And then we have this lovingly rendered portrait of the mouse avatar, which I love, sleeping with double tiny little nightcaps on, and a tiny stuffed Joe with a portrait of Astarion on the wall. And then Shaming. Tiny Joe. And then Shaming just sort of yeeting us into oblivion. And then I died immediately. And I said, "What did I do?" And in the back is me just hanging up posters about how much I fucking hate Shaming. Just, he's the worst. So that's really good.
That's cute. That's cute.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Cute. Yeah, that's cute. Okay. Second fan art also from the same person, is relevant for today. So this is a character that we'll meet a little bit later. I'm on Top Gun 12 more hours. We want to go to Rikenshiman.
I'm miserable.
Yeah. So
why do we both have tiny avatars? That's cute, actually.
I don't know. They're cute.
Yeah.
I'll take the. I like it better than people drawing you as like life size and me as a tiny mouse. Godot says this is going to be the biggest verse of fan art Sekimeiya has ever gotten, and I'm fine with it. You know what? That's the plus side. That's the plus side of it all, isn't it? All right. I think. Thanks for reminding me of that last filibustering reason, but I think we have to read it now. Ready? Oh, Paketo reminds me that Atsuki is narrating in like talking format, so you might want to start with narrating, just using talking as Atsuki. So,
okay, sure, I can do that. I can do that. Excuse me.
Okay, here we go. No jodel.
Oh,
No jodel. We're locking in.
no jodel? No jodel?
Okay. Here we go. December 15th, 2011.
Oh, wait. Okay, we got it. Okay, they can't be mad at us. All right, we got it. Yeah. We know what year it is. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
2011. Okay.
Fuck you, Dolmac.
I'd been mindlessly staring at the wall in front of me for a few minutes. When that finally registered, I slowly spun around. I'd always thought I'd be quick at adapting to sudden changes, but I'd recently realized how mistaken I'd been. Still unable to process everything, my brain kept struggling to accept that the previous few days had really happened. I wasn't familiar with the walls around me, but I'd always known of the place. Next to me was Shiroya, less willing to acknowledge her surroundings. Keeping her gaze on the floor, she suddenly spoke for the first time since we'd entered.
I'm gonna turn this sound up.
Chill music.
Very chill music. Pow, 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 pow. Bleep, 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 bleep. Was that too loud? Too loud? It was fine. It just had a slow start. Okay, it's fine now. Okay, here we go. I think it'll be time soon.
Yeah, probably less than 20 minutes.
We can't. Oh, we can middle click to get information. Oh my god. Look at that.
In game? It's been an hour. Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, I guess
Cool
so.
stats. Cool. That was all I managed to muster. Even though I was still the same Etsuki as always, it felt like I'd been rewritten into an entirely different entity in only a few days. Man, what happened?
What's with the resolution? I don't know. I can make it full screen if you want. I don't remember why I had it this way. Is it disruptive?
I didn't try to say anything else. During the previous 2 weeks, I'd grown accustomed to those brief interactions with Shiroya. After I spoke, the lost look in her eyes returned. We had both agreed to come together, but it seemed like neither of us knew what we were doing. We kept awkwardly scanning the vast hall, moving forward tiny steps at a time and awaiting further instructions. Neither of us had any strength. I'd known Shiroya for... Am I saying her name right? Shiroya?
I think so, as far as I know.
Shiroya for more than 15 years, and not once had she looked so empty. On top of everything, I hadn't been able to make her feel any better. Despite that, at almost 9, we were inside Ashiya Tower. Here it is, the biggest building. The biggest building in Yushibana, the town where we'd always lived. It was situated on the outskirts, and we had never entered it before. From the outside, the tower's contrast with its surroundings was immense. Beyond all the similar-looking houses, its size made it visible anywhere in the town. It was that contrast which had caused it to be called a tower, but it was only as big as an urban building. The structure itself was more or less a cube, essentially as wide as it was tall, but it seemed towering to people who had spent their whole lives in a rural area. It was a place Shiroya and I had always avoided because of the stigma associated with it. A large portion of the citizens were against its existence due to the people who owned it and its unnatural size. I wasn't very familiar with the topic. Apparently, decades in the past when the building hadn't been anywhere near as large, it had been the Ashiya family's residence. It was known that they were a shady family, but they never suffered any consequences. At that time, they held a silent power over the town, and over the years, it gradually grew stronger. They became the image of Yushibana. Anyone visiting from the outside knew about that family before anything else in the town. Over the years, the old residence transformed into a focal point for business and tourism. I had never immersed myself in the matter, but that was common information that I couldn't even recall where I'd heard first. The place was some sort of museum, and behind it extended a mountain range that encircled Yushibana. It was known for housing numerous caves that held valuable gemstones, so enthusiasts tended to visit often. The Ashiya family had taken advantage of it and utilized their building as a gallery for the different gemstones that could be found in the nearby mountains. And when that happened, the part of the town in favor of the tower strengthened due to the increase of people who specialized in those gemstones. That was what caused a split in the population. The younger residents generally didn't mind Ashiya, while the older maintained their private discontent. That was why we had never entered it, and on top of our more recent circumstances, I thought Shiroya might have been experiencing a feeling of betrayal for simply being there. While I couldn't say I shared that strong of an emotion toward it, I wasn't very fond of the whole thing either. I think this is why it was important to start again from the beginning again, Mouse, because there's this weird intrigue of what the hell happened a couple days before this, because they're like clearly reeling from something, right?
Yeah, that's true. How often do you want to swap off narration? Because I'm used to us swapping it off literally between Umineko chapters, so I'm used to us reading for like 45 minutes at a time, but I don't know if you want to swap off more often than that.
I'm okay with this so far. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, cool. Every 12 hours? Perfect. Yeah.
The reason why we were inside wasn't one I could easily put into words. There had been constant publicity about the day's events for 2 weeks. According to Ashiya, they were going to showcase a major discovery, one found in the very same mountains around the town. Ooh.
Thank you, August. I did see the poll.
But that wasn't something that particularly interested me, and I wasn't sure what to expect. The reason we had come to the tower wasn't anything as simple as curiosity. It was December 15th. Outside, the environment was cold and coated in snow, and while the temperature inside was regulated, we'd been outside for so long that we still felt unpleasant. I glanced at Shioya, who didn't return my look. Feeling slightly agitated, I turned a little. I could see a line of people who had come thanks to Shioya's ambitious advertisements. Shioya and I had been at the front of it for a long time. Next to us was a man I'd never seen before. He was tall and had dark hair, and like us, he seemed distant from everyone else. I hadn't seen him so much as look at me, so I hadn't given him a second thought. So just to be clear, because I was a little confused with this is not us, right?
No, this is
the man they're describing.
Yeah, this is the other guy. I think that we're an invisible head as far as I know, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Not us, yeah.
We were next to him because we would go see the gemstone in groups of 3. Since we'd been the initial 3 to show up, we formed the first group. The entrance fee had been expensive, but we paid it well in advance. From our perspective, it had been worth it. We remained by the door that would open at 9, simply waiting for that to happen. At our left was another door that would open at the same time, and according to what we'd been told, both led to the main floor of the tower. On that particular day, not many people seemed to care about that, as everyone who could be seen was part of our line. For a moment, I wondered what the big deal was. Yushibana wasn't a large town, so the amount of people waiting behind us was fairly impressive. All that for a gemstone didn't seem quite right to me. But perhaps it made sense, given that it was Ashiya's event. They cared about appearances, as anyone could attest. They were in many lines of business, but the most important one was looking good. Apart from the line, the only other people in the lobby were guards talking with a policeman, a woman behind the reception desk checking everyone's tickets, and a janitor who had been scrubbing the same part of the floor for a while. Sus.
So sus.
It was all unsettling and alien. The event itself was an abstract thing to me, and my view on the people who ran it was far from positive. All I could do was look at things and wait for it all to start.
Just like us.
We've been... We've been asked to leave our phones outside for the duration of our stay, as nothing of the sort was permitted in the building. That meant I had no way of looking at the time. There weren't any clocks on the walls. It's kind of weird that they don't understand what the fuss is about, and yet they're first in line and pay in advance. I wonder what's going on here. Yeah. I wonder if that's important. It probably is. Adding the fact that the person I was with was clearly uncomfortable and trying to hide it, the long wait had been much more tedious than I'd hoped.
That's true, Godot. We do need to first explore the individual characters that make up each person's name. That's a good point.
I continued looking at her, not knowing how to deal with the situation better. Finally, after minutes of looking down, she suddenly lifted her head as if she just remembered that she was in a public environment. Following behind, she looked at me and seemed to try to smile. But it was barely visible before vanishing again. I kept falling back into negative thoughts. No matter how I tried, I couldn't help that. I needed to be stronger, and it helped lift Shiroya out of the pit she was in, but that was tricky, seeing as I first had to get out of the same one. What happened? So I just struggled against my feelings, wishing all the while that I could go back to how things had been before. Minutes later, a well-dressed man who'd been standing near the entrance told us that if we weren't waiting for the event, we could go through the left door. Shortly after, a tall, blonde woman wearing a suit entered through the one on the right. I'd seen her in a coat earlier before she disappeared through one of the doors. She looked over everyone present and began to explain what the procedure would be.
Sorry for the wait, everyone. We'll now begin the group entrances. My name is Naomi. I'll be chaperoning today's guided visit. As you likely already know, groups of 3 will move forward in turns. Each visit is estimated to take approximately 15 minutes. Once inside, I will personally explain what we have prepared, and I will also be available to answer questions within the specified time.
Naomi's explanation was directed at everyone present, but it was hard to believe anyone farther back could have heard her. She continued in a monotone voice.
Keep in mind that phones and video cameras are strictly prohibited. I ask for all of you to please be patient and await your turn.
When her scripted message was over, she relaxed her posture and directed her look at us.
You 3 of the first group, correct?
Seconds later, nobody had answered. The 2 people at my sides had barely paid attention to her, so I spoke before she would have had to ask again. Yes.
All right then, please follow me to the event room to be the first to see the Sekimeiya. Title Title drop.
Whoa! Dun 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 dun. I heard the word 3 times recently. Before I could think, she turned around and walked through the same door she'd entered from. I looked to my right to check on Shiroya. Her demeanor hadn't changed, but she was aware of the situation. By the time I turned back, the man on my left had nearly reached the door. It seemed he was taking the initiative despite his unenthused appearance. Rather, it was probably better to think of myself as lagging behind than him being proactive. I followed, motioning to Shiroya as I did. She approached me, still wearing her heavy-looking coat. We found ourselves in a long hallway. We could see many doors lining each wall, some opened and connected by a decorative handrail. However, there were no traces of Naomi or the man. The floor seemed pointlessly wide. Up to the end of the hall, I could see a number of security cameras hanging from the ceiling. As we started walking, unclear about where to go, I found it appropriate to try to talk with Shiroya again. Are you feeling better?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
She continued walking, assuming that was the end of our exchange. I tried to press it a bit further. Do you regret coming?
No, of course not. I'm seriously glad we're here. I mean it.
I know how you feel, okay? It's the same for me. It doesn't help a lot to say it, but I don't want to see you sad.
I'm here because I want to be Atsuki. I'm okay. This is where I need to be right now. Sorry, I must look terrible.
She wasn't being very convincing, and now I know my name. You know, this isn't something you need to apologize for. Nothing about this is your fault.
I'm not so sure. I wish I didn't have to be a drag for you now.
Hey, come on. If you want to leave, we still can. Don't feel like you have to push yourself for my sake.
It's alright, thank you. Let's continue, though. I was the one who wanted to come. Oh, that's interesting, too. Reread Justified.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of... The whole setup is really weird. I want to know why, actually, but yeah. We'd hoped coming to the exhibition would be for the better. Once it was settled that we wouldn't back out, I looked around shyly until a voice calling for us came from the middle of the hallway through an open door.
You two, hurry up. The clock is ticking.
Her unprofessional shout broke the silence and drew us forward. I saw her figure in a seemingly empty room. Through the other doors, there were cabinets covered by red cloths.
Good, we're all finally here. Now we can start.
Once I went inside, I realized my initial impression had been wrong. The room would have been barren if it weren't for a single cabinet covered by a velvet curtain. The black-haired man was there, yet again looking entirely aloof and fixing his eyes on the plain opposite wall.
I love it when games give everyone on the screen one color. Just so you could, you've got red shirt, blonde hair, and blue hair, and everything else is neutral. It's really good for me personally, because I can't keep people straight. So you know what? We'll take one color. All right. It would be helpful if you could tell me your name, since you know mine.
While she said that, she closed the door we'd come through, and I took notice of the security camera in one of the corners, which was fitting for the place we were in. There was another closed door in the opposite wall, so we had 15 minutes ahead of us where we would be shut inside, and I just lost power for like a split second.
Oh, that's not good. Oh.
It's really, really windy here.
Uh-oh.
Seems like I'm still here, though, so that's okay. Naomi looked at me expectantly, probably because I've been the one to speak earlier. Asuki Hakotoki.
Shiroya Murana.
Without being cajoled, Shiroya spoke her name. To my relief, she was looking directly at Naomi, and her posture was significantly less stiff than before. The black-haired man didn't respond immediately when we'd eyed him.
And your name?
Akaro Asada.
Perfect. Happy to meet the three of you.
It was hard to read him. He looked passive, but he must have been interested in the exhibition. Naomi moved aside and placed herself before the velvet curtain. Then she took out a keyring from her pocket as she got ready to begin the introduction.
As you might already know, what's behind this curtain is not to be taken lightly, and being the first public viewers is a bigger privilege than you might think. What's being kept here is among the rarest pieces that we've ever seen, and it's only been 2 weeks since the discovery. We estimate that the value of this cabinet's contents is immense. A proper appraisal has already occurred, but more estimates will come forth as everyone realizes just what we have in our hands. What is it, asks chat? I don't know. Let's find out. Part of the experience is the touch, so I will open the glass and let you experience it yourselves. However, I must insist that you be gentle and keep your hands inside the cabinet at all times.
We know and don't need this introduction, so let's move along. You've been praising this find of yours in every advertisement. Let's see how your claims hold up. Discovered 2 weeks ago, by the way. Akaru's sudden input took us by surprise, and it made it clear that he did care about the event.
My apologies. Let's start then.
Naomi put a small key into a lock on the left side of the cabinet and turned it. Admittedly, all the buildup was making me slightly curious, but for all I knew, we were talking about a slightly shining rock, nothing that would ever interest me very much.
Let's stop with the teasing. Here's what you've come here to see, named the Sekimeiya.
With one hand, she grabbed the bottom of the curtain and began to raise it. But even though my focus should have been on the cabinet, something else took priority. When I was least expecting it, smoke rose instead of the curtain, accompanied by a familiar, putrid smell that invaded the room. Familiar.
Well, what is this?
Without bothering to ask myself questions, I tried to find Shiroya. At my right, I saw her face morphing into shock.
Atsuki, what?
Her last word faded out quietly, and it was then that I realized that my consciousness was getting cloudy. All of a sudden, all I could see was very dark smoke filling my field of vision. I couldn't believe it was happening again. Not again! Naomi's hand had immediately released the curtain, and she was trying to steady herself while covering her nose. I couldn't find Akaru until I looked down and saw that he had already fallen to the floor. The smoke filled up the entire room at once. In just a few seconds, my legs stopped responding, and all of my efforts at getting my muscles to obey me were met with failure. At last, my entire body gave up and I plummeted down. Thanks to the view I had from the floor, I could see Shiroya's outcome had not been any different, and from the falling noise I'd heard, the same could be said for Naomi. Behind Shiroya was the door we'd come through. The smoke had covered the ceiling, so everything was dark. Amidst the confusion, I was able to notice the lack of light under the door, something which should have been easily noticeable from such a dark place. While I ultimately accepted there was nothing I could do to salvage the situation, I had a few seconds where I could only think about what was going on. Our room and its surroundings were fully silent. I couldn't hear a thing despite what had happened, and I wasn't able to produce any noise. What the fuck had just happened? I was able to recognize how strange it was. Both doors had been closed, so I had no idea where the smoke had come from. Knowing the smoke was blotting out awareness, I realized it had been done deliberately, and there were many reasons I could come up with as to why, going off what we'd just been told. As my remaining consciousness faded away, I could only hope I would quickly wake to see Shiroya again. I wanted to pretend that I knew nothing would happen, but the images came back to me, seeing that hole in the floor. Wait, what? Oh, my heartbeat slowed and became inaudible. I knew that resisting was completely futile, so I closed my eyes, hoping to fast forward to being awake again. The thought of dying was pathetic, but without a choice in the matter, I resigned myself to what was happening. Before all my senses faded, the silence was broken by a loud alarm, which had taken a while to be broadcast after the appearance of the smoke. Further in the background, I briefly perceived a much fainter and rougher sound that I couldn't identify. I lay on the floor of that smoky room with 3 other people, completely powerless and clueless. What's the rougher sound, do you think?
An alarm. Here's my first hint. It says alarm.
You don't use another sound in addition to the alarm?
Oh, I don't know, actually. Someone in chat asked, someone in chat asked if I know this VN as well. And the answer is, no, I do not. We read like an hour and a half of this before, and now we're rereading it. I did choose to do this while the alarm sound is playing just to be evil, so we were on the same page. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Mouse and I can speculate, because neither of us know where it's going. Yeah. It's not like Umineko where Mouse knows everything. Yeah. Soon after the alarm played, the darkness became absolute and all my thoughts vanished.
Mouse, your phone alarm is ringing. Yeah, this is instead of getting twanged, I get. Chapter 1, Foot of the Mountain.
I like the music.
Yeah, I also like the music. Why did we decide to play the Sekimeiya? I promised Caps that I would read it, and then Caps forgot that I promised that, and then I still did it anyway because I'm honorable. All right.
Do you want to read the narration for a little bit?
Yeah, sure, I can take over. An indeterminate amount of time had passed. I was a complete mess, and a constant pain pounded against the interior of my skull. Nothing had changed apart from the walls and ceiling, which had been tainted by the smoke. As I confirmed that I was still in the event room, I tried to battle the intense headache mercilessly hammering me from the inside, focusing my vision in an attempt to spot Shiroya. There she was, still on the floor. She hadn't moved since I'd blacked out. I used all the energy I could muster to try to rise, and after a few attempts, I was able to sit up. While I crawled to Shiroya, I looked behind me. As expected, Akaro's body still lay on the floor, but he was far from my first priority. I reached Shiroya and turned her to face me. Her eyes were half open, and she seemed conscious, which was exactly what I needed to see. Are you... I guess that's you, sorry.
It's okay.
My sentence was cut off by dry coughing that took over my body. It seemed I had inhaled a bit of the smoke, but it might have meant that we hadn't been unconscious for a long time. Yes, I think so. Her eyes opened fully, and she tried to steady herself with an arm. That smoke, was it...
Maybe. Listen. Listen, we'll find out what happened. Just stay there for a minute, okay? Do you feel okay?
Joe confirmed doing more on my stream than for in the Sekimeiya than Umi Neko by actually making a cough sound instead of saying cough cough, by the way. Yes. I could tell she was barely keeping it together. She must have been afraid of the worst, just like I was, but that time we'd woken up safely. I looked around me. It was a bizarre sight, and the disgusting smell was still present after the smoke had faded. The room had been painted black, the curtains beautiful red, the walls, the ceiling. They'd all been corrupted by an ugly dark color, almost purple. The floor, however, had not received the same treatment. It had become gray, but it was nowhere near the strong black that had consumed the ceiling. And there was something much more important that I quickly noticed.
Naomi's gone. She's not here.
What? You're right. Where could she have gone?
The door's open.
The door we'd not gone through was very slightly ajar. Naomi could have woken up and left through it, maybe to understand what had happened after seeing that we were still knocked out. Even reaching that small conclusion took a lot out of me, but the headache was beginning to fade almost as quickly as it had come on. I noticed our voices had woken Akaro, who still hadn't moved at all.
Ugh. What the fuck is this?
He felt his face with his hand as he grimaced. Then he slowly stood up and attempted to balance himself while perplexedly looking around him.
Hey, what's all of this? You said Naomi's gone? What the fuck just happened? I think a lot of smoke suddenly appeared out of nowhere, right? Did it knock us out?
For the first time, he started a conversation with us. Before answering, I began to clean my face, like a cat, with my paws, as the smoke had created a sticky mask on it as well. We can't see him, so I've decided that Atsuki is a catboy.
Okay. I have no idea, but yes, that smoke must have had something to do with something in it that made us fall unconscious, meow. And a few seconds before I fainted, a very loud alarm went off. An alarm? I must have fallen unconscious too fast. All I remember is getting very dizzy out of nowhere and falling over.
I can say Katsuki every time. Yeah. I don't think I heard it either. Did it say anything?
No, it was only a loud sound.
While I was still attempting to stand up, Akaro walked to the open door and looked through it.
Oh, what the hell happened here? It's very dark and the hallway's condition is the same. The walls and ceiling are black and I can't see anyone. The whole hallway's covered. How much smoke was there? Everyone must have evacuated when they heard the alarm, even though it came a bit after the smoke appeared.
Did you see where the smoke came from? I didn't see anything and there's nothing here.
No, but you're right. It surrounded us in an instant and it probably appeared in this room and in the hallways at the same time. Both of these doors were closed, so the origin had to have been here. Something must have happened while we were unconscious.
Why are we alone, though? There were police officers outside. Why haven't they come? We couldn't answer. Still a bit disoriented, I forced my neck to turn. The only thing in the room was the covered cabinet. However, I doubted the Sekimeiya would still be there.
Here we go!
But the last thing I'm gonna do is go and check it, though. The easiest conclusion to reach was that the smoke had been part of an attack designed to steal it.
The smoke wasn't released in the other rooms in the hallway.
Everything was giving me a surreal vibe. I had no idea what was going on, but at first glance, the danger seemed to have faded away. My headache was nearly gone, thankfully. That meant I could start thinking things through. Like, maybe we should check whether the cabinet was empty. What had happened? Why had it happened? How was I going to find the person responsible? Maybe I was just trying to distract myself from reality by thinking things like that, but I had a personal stake in it. I couldn't forgive whoever was responsible. Shiroya probably felt the same way. We couldn't just ignore it, and someone was missing. The room was empty, and it had been empty before we'd fallen unconscious. Only the cabinet had been with us, but if the smoke had come out of it, it wouldn't have surrounded us so fast. We had been stained, but not as much on the lower parts of our bodies. The ceiling was very dark, whereas the floor not so much. The smoke's density must have been low. Did that mean that the origin of the smoke had been the very center of the room? How did that make any sense? Shiroya staggered slightly. I reached out to try and hold her shoulder, but as my body was still recovering, both of us fell back to the floor. Without looking at us, Akaro walked to the door we'd entered through.
So something to note here that I find interesting is that this is the first time that Katsuki and Shiroya have been smoked like this, and they're not telling Akaro that, and they're not really thinking about it much either. So I don't know what that's all about. Or like, am I wrong in that assumption? Because it seemed to me that this is not the first time they've dealt with this. Mouse,
no, they said that they recognized it and said not again. But like, but it's not. But it doesn't seem to be that like the same situation is. Like they're surprised by the deployment of the smoke, but they're not surprised by the smoke itself. Like it seems like if they encountered it before, it was in a different situation.
Yeah. If anything, I would say that they're the most suspect right now because they've encountered this thing before. But
yeah, the weekly smoking parties, maybe.
Yep.
Oh, all right.
It happened here too. Yeah, when I fell to the floor, I noticed there was no light below that door. Given how dark the room had become, I thought the hallway must have been just as dark. The smoke was released at the same time, even though both places looked empty.
This sounds like a good note to take. Is notes introduced already, or does it like happen later on? I don't remember. That's a question for you, too. Are they always available? Notes? Notes. Okay. What are we noting? What are we noting?
Ooh.
What are we noting? So here's the notes system, which I complimented. Sincerely, for How You Doing's birthday, we have notes. We have a search that will take us anywhere we want to go. We have a summary. Yeah, we have
You can
notes.
do a search of the whole entire thing that you've seen so far too, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and it I think it lets you jump to wherever you want in the text. Yeah, every VN should have this. Yeah,
Let's make a note. Let's make a note on the first one, After Dark, and just say like something bad happens or something suspect happened to Shiroya and Katsuki before coming here.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like the typing speed? That's right.
I do.
That's
yeah.
Okay. Did you read this already?
I think so. The smoke was released at the same time, even though both places were empty. Okay. What the fuck is this about? The woman disappeared, but she fell unconscious too, didn't she? And you're right. Why is no one else here?
Although I will not go back and make the note bold so I don't forget it, Koro. Thank you. Although these points were very strange, I was still relieved that none of us had been harmed. I lay on the floor for a bit, attempting to gather more strength. And thoughts came to me. It was calming to realize they were different from what had recently filled my head. This room connects two parallel hallways, which were attacked alongside this room all at once. Was this done to isolate us? Someone attacked the building to steal the Sekimeiya, right? That must have been the intention. The smoke formed an easy path for whoever had planned it to make their way here, obtain the Sekimeiya, and leave. It sounds like a messy and risky plan, but it's the obvious thing that comes to mind. The open door seems to reinforce it, even though Naomi must have left through one anyway. Do I have to conclude that Naomi was part of this, and while we were out, she took the Sekimeiya and left? Pointing this much suspicion at herself? Being a staff member, she'd know many things about the security system, and we were the first group to come, meaning out of the four, she was the only one that wasn't part of the first visit coincidentally. Or I could say that if I knew Akaro at all. I did think he looked distant from everything else. Maybe Akaro was aware of the fact the smoke would appear. He immediately faked his unconsciousness by throwing himself to the floor, knowing he would avoid breathing anything from the upper half of the room. The fact that the floor is barely stained proves the smoke never came down. And yes, correct, we are doing all of this theorizing without knowing if the Sekimeiya is even gone. We are theorizing an elaborate robbery plot without checking to make sure it actually got stolen. That is correct.
But we'll check it very soon. Very soon we're going to
we'll solve it someday.
Yeah.
Once we're all out of it, he obtains the Sekimeiya. I should also consider that the smoke first arose shortly after Naomi unlocked the cabinet. This doesn't mean much, given she'd fall checking Mary Barrels, thanks, kiddo. Given she'd fall unconscious and leave the key available to be picked up. But if whoever did this doesn't know much about the cabinet's mechanism, it makes sense they waited until it was unlocked. But how did they know exactly when that was? Doesn't this mean that they must have been inside the room? Or again, doesn't this mean that only a Karo could have done it? Assuming this precise timing actually happened, how did he trigger the smoke? It could simply be that he gave some sort of signal to someone else outside, but phones aren't allowed here. After we regained consciousness, he seemed to be perfectly fine physically. However, the mass difference between his body and our 19-year-old one's is very noticeable. It makes sense that the substance had a somewhat weaker effect on him. Is Akaro in? Yeah, that's quite a statement.
Yeah, and yet he was the one that woke up after the other two.
Yeah. Yeah. Is Akaro in possession of the Sekimeiya right now, or did he leave it somewhere? If so, why did he come back? Only to not look suspicious? But this doesn't explain Naomi's disappearance. And how did the smoke appear, or why did the alarm sound late? And what kind of risky plan is this? I grimaced. I was getting carried away without realizing how far I was going. In the first place, it was ridiculous to suspect anyone until I had information, like whether the Sekimeiya is missing. I'm so over it. But I knew I could never let things remain as they were. Someone was responsible, and I wouldn't let them get away. I only had to bide my time. Before I could stand, I realized there was another avenue open to me. There was a security camera on the ceiling. If someone was looking at the footage and the smoke came out of an automated system, this would make a lot more sense. However, it doesn't mean Akaro couldn't simply have been the one to wait for the automated smoke to then follow with whatever plan they had. This must have happened during the first visit for a reason. Hello, Jelly. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, Jelly Raiders.
Jelly Raiders.
Sekimeiya barrels. Yeah.
Ryu.
It means that whoever was looking at the direct footage would have been the one to activate the smoke system. I was doing it again, almost like a coping mechanism. I had to make sure Shiroya was really okay before anything else. When I attempted to lift my head, my body thankfully obeyed. I stared at the curtain that concealed the so-called Sekimeiya. It was dark, and the substance the smoke was composed of had dried up on it. Can you stand up?
I think so.
Supporting each other, Shiroya and I slowly steadied ourselves. Then, I realized Akaro had gone to the hallway.
Who's this?
Tiny Joe. Do Tiny Joe.
Nice.
Close enough. A shout came from the same area. It was a feminine voice, oops, which at least indicated we weren't alone. We walked to it slowly as I wiped more of the solidified substance off of myself. I was curious to see if the Sekimeiya was still in the cabinet, but we would find that out very soon, regardless.
And then they left without checking. Oh.
They left. They left without checking the cabinet, Chad.
Room without checking.
They left.
Oh my god.
Would you like to take over narration? Or do we want to just when
Sure.
we change? Yeah, okay. All right, go for it.
Yeah, when we change rooms or locations, whatever, unless it's a short change, let's do that. Yeah. The hallway was almost as dark as the room. The smoke had coated every light bulb, but since there were many of them, some light could make it past the barrier. The smoke had created a thorough cover on the walls and ceilings. This is very unusual smoke, right? Like it's like a thick layer on everything, which must have been an intended result. It had set up a dark environment, but that couldn't be the sole purpose. Something had been added to the smoke to create the same effect on every surface it touched. Close to the start of the hallway, near the door Naomi had first appeared through, I saw human figures. Our approaching footsteps were noticed by one, and it rose from its knees. We got closer and saw two more people kneeling down. Akaro was with them, and after finally arriving where they were, I noticed a small body on the floor.
Isla's finally waking up, thank God.
That woman was the person we'd heard. She had a little girl on her lap and was looking at her closed eyes with concern.
This is you.
This is me. So this is, yeah, okay, I almost said his name. I see. So you three were also not able to evacuate. The person who had stood up was a well-dressed old man. As he said that, the two kneeling people turned their heads to face us. But the words, not able to evacuate, sounded darker than I expected, especially due to his rough voice.
Is she okay? I think so. She's finally breathing fine.
Shoya sat next to the others and worriedly looked at the girl who'd been called Isla. Next to them was a guy my age who was staring at the girl in silence. Smoke appeared out of nowhere and knocked us out. Do you know what happened? I'm afraid I don't. You were in the event room, right? Shouldn't another woman be with you? Naomi, yes, she was gone when we woke up. Despite the dim light, I was able to discern his frown. I'm pretty sure she passed out too, but the door to the other hallway was open when we woke up. She left while you were still unconscious? That's strange. I inspected this floor a bit and didn't find her.
I'm going to turn the volume down 1 notch, and then we're not changing volume for the rest of the time. This is it. This is it. This is the last change for the volume. So if it's still too loud, that's too bad. I'm drawing a line on the back seating.
Is that strange? Maybe she exited the building entirely. No, that's wrong. When his look lowered again, I realized there was something very important that we were missing. Why was nobody else there? Why had the unconscious child not been taken outside at the very least? Here we go. She couldn't have left. If she fell unconscious like the rest of you, she still has to be here. What? The man didn't answer immediately, so I took that time to look him over. Due to the lighting, I'd just gotten the impression that he was a simple, well-dressed old man, but those weren't casual clothes. Did all of you hear the alarm that played throughout the building? After I heard it, I saw all the smoke.
Yo, Katsuki has to be a dumbass if he thinks that this man is like dressed up to go out. That guy's got like shoulder pad. That guy looks like a cop. Like, sorry. Are the backgrounds and sprites canon? Because look at that thing.
It's dark. The smoke is covering the light bulbs. Go easy on him. He's had a hard day, okay? You know, he's still thinking about going to see the Sekimeiya. Wow, get off his back. Wow. Those words may be considered important detail. His shirt was white and a lot less stained than ours, indicating that... never mind, you're right. Indicating that he hadn't been hit with any smoke during its release. In contrast, the woman and the other guy had the same smoke pattern we did, being more stained on their top halves. The stature of the child had made her face the main target. I'm responsible for this building's security system. When the smoke appeared, I was in the security room, found in the other hallway. Since today was a special day, most of the visitors were in the lobby awaiting their turn for the event, so they had no problem leaving safely when they saw the smoke. You might know that this tower has many floors, but only this one is open to the public, and no one was on the higher levels. No one at all, even though it's so huge. It was a big shock to see all that smoke, so I panicked and spent a while in the security room trying to figure out what had happened. When I realized I couldn't get anywhere, I exited and began searching through this floor. It seems you all were the first 2 groups of the 3 for today's events. What? Hold on, why was that hard to read?
I don't know.
I don't know why.
Yes, we were told to wait here after the first group moved forward. Oh, that's right. I remember seeing her earlier now that I look at her closer.
I also recalled seeing the 3 of them behind us in the lobby. I was still trying to understand the man's words, though, as he had said the security system was in the other hallway. At the same time, we kept cleaning the smoke off our bodies until only a few traces remained. You said you saw the smoke, but your clothes are much cleaner than ours. Did it not hit you? That's right. I didn't leave the room while I was in the hallway. When I said I saw the smoke, I was talking about the security cameras. Oh, I see. So he was the person I just accused in my head. I wasn't able to figure anything out through the cameras, unfortunately. When I left a few minutes later, I saw all the walls were black. I knew he was slowly giving me information, so I didn't want to interrupt him. However, more questions were coming to mind, such as why he hadn't come across our group first. Wait, you saw what the hallway looked like after you left the security room? Don't you have enough security cameras to see it from there? I couldn't help myself from asking for details. The more I tried to coast through things, the more I resisted it. I needed to know as much as possible, like if the Sekimeiya is still in the cabinet. No, the thing is, they became useless after the smoke appeared. It instantly covered the lenses of every camera that was hit by it. Oh no. That makes sense. Does it? It must be why the smoke created this film on every surface it touched. It worked to disable the cameras. Yes, while I was there, I had no way to know what was happening in the hallways or in the event room. I took my time to look at the footage of all the other rooms, but I didn't see anything suspicious at all. No people either. But I should get into what's most important. The alarm that played wasn't your usual emergency alarm. It was one that hadn't played before. I said that I stayed in the security room out of panic, but that's not all. Even if I'd left, it would have been pointless. One of the special functions of the alarm is to shut down all methods of escape. This means that if we have no way to leave this building, and the people outside can't enter.
I wonder how long that lasts for.
I really want to know. I'm curious. Although I've been kind of anticipating those words, it was still a heavy blow. Shiroya and I looked at each other. It seemed everything insisted on getting worse.
Wos?
Wos and wos. Hang on. What the fuck? You're saying that we're trapped here? How long does it close the exit for? Why? And is there no way to undo it or contact the outside? It closes all the exit routes for 12 hours. The reason as to why is a bit complicated and for our purposes confidential. I'm sorry, but I can't get into that. People who are trapped here for 12 hours get fucked. It's not my burden. Fuck you. I don't need to explain. As for a way to contact the outside, there should be one. We can try it. Smoke signals. Shiroya wasn't faring well, and Akaro seemed to be in complete disbelief as to what he was hearing. Hey,
Hmm?
it's going to be fine, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I turned back to the others. Barring Akaro, none of them seemed very surprised about the situation. Is this not a shock for you? I already told them, getting Isla out of here would normally have been the first thing any of us would have done. It didn't seem like the type of building to have medical equipment stored in it, so the woman must have immediately tried to extract who I could only assume was her daughter. There was no reason to think that some secret entrance existed, so I more or less had to assume that we really were trapped for half a day. The existence of such an alarm seemed absurd, but at first glance, it also might have succeeded in trapping whoever been responsible for the smoke. So you're right, Naomi still has to be here. And is that it? I get that most people were in the lobby, but if someone else had entered the hallways, they couldn't have evacuated either. Is it possible the smoke in the hallway wasn't as dense, which gave people time to run from it before the alarm went off?
I think this is me? No, that can't be. Yeah, it's me.
Oh, it's Nagito, yeah. Can you do the Nagito voice? The guy who'd remained quiet finally spoke.
We were right here when the smoke appeared. The moment we inhaled a bit of it, we were out like a light. We pretty much collapsed instantly.
I see, then I couldn't tell you.
Did you just laugh at collapsed? Is that what you
Yes.
laughed at? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The English language is being ruined by your streams one word at a time.
I know. From what I could see from there, the other rooms in the hallways were clean. If someone had been in one, they had to have been trapped too. I could recall that the alarm had played approximately 20 seconds after the smoke's appearance, but it was unlikely that it had been enough time for it to entirely dissipate. I can't believe what you're telling us. What the fuck does this mean? Why are we trapped here? I sincerely apologize. I'm confused as well, but there's nothing I can tell you. We'll have to be here all day, but I'll try to figure out what happened. My name is Katai Kyuichi. Nailed it. It was ridiculous, but we couldn't fight it. After a period of silence where nobody knew how to react, the woman spoke.
She's Isla, my daughter. She's been unconscious since the smoke appeared, but her breathing's steadier now. I'm Irina. I'm Shiroya.
And I'm Nanjo. I'm Katsuki. We came here together. How old is she?
She'll be 10 in a bit more than a week. Her birthday is 2 days before Christmas.
Realizing the rest of his group had introduced themselves, the guy followed.
That girl's fucking doomed to never get enough Christmas and birthday gifts. She's gonna have to split Christmas and birthday gifts for the rest of her young life if she even makes it out of this place. It might be more merciful for her not to.
Yeah, it's the worst birthday to have, yeah.
It is. I'm Sai.
We look back at the man separated from us. Akaro. Immediately, the silence returned. What the hell had happened? I thought back to the wordless alarm that had locked us in. It had lacked a message, seemingly only designed to tell us what we've been trapped. It made sense if the culprit was one of us, but not even the staff member who was still there had any idea who could have been, which made things difficult. And the target of the attack, it had to be the Sekimeiya. There was no way it wasn't related. The very first showing of a newly discovered gemstone being interrupted meant only one thing. We hadn't checked whether the Sekimeiya was still in the room, but it was confirmed that it was still in the building with us, even if it had been taken out of its cabinet. The attack had been deliberate. That was the most important point. Whoever was responsible, I wanted to find them out and expose them. It was deeply personal. Why is it deeply personal? What the fuck?
I don't know.
We all glanced at Isla's pained face. After the second cough, she proceeded to slightly open her eyes.
Hyla, finally. Are you okay? How do you feel?
Irina's sudden outbursts seemed to confuse her daughter. She raised her head and blinked blearily at all of us. Looking back at her mother, she coughed weakly again and spoke.
Where are we? What are we doing here?
The disorientation definitely wasn't helped by the fact that all the walls were stained black. Shiroya seemed like she wanted to say something, but she held back and let Irina speak.
We're still inside Ashia Tower. Do you remember all that smoke? It knocked us out, and you're the last one to wake up.
Irina stroked Isla's hair gently, which seemed to soothe her.
Dolmik said suspiciously, the Sekimeiya shaped Akaro. Yeah, I have no idea what happened. Weren't we going to see the Sekimeiya? I'm trying to remember what happened after that, but I can't. Did we ever do that? No, sweetie. We were waiting for that in this very hallway when the smoke came out. Do you not remember? Smoke? I'm not sure. Is this that hallway? Why is everything black? That's also the smoke's doing. It stained everything it touched.
Shoria finally spoke up. Isla seemed to realize that everyone else had faint black stains on their clothes, so she looked down at her own to find them almost completely clean. At her height, her head had been primarily affected, but Irina had evidently wiped off the remnants already.
Sorry, Boulder said, Mouse, I want your physical security expert assessment. How much does locking random people and one elderly security guard into a space with a possibly violent criminal improve the safety of this gemstone exhibit? Boulder, I once got so drunk that I passed out halfway inside my door with it hanging open, and I was just asleep on the steps in my apartment building. So I am not a physical security expert, and I am unable to give you an assessment. That's my answer for you. Do you feel okay? You've been out for a long time. I was really worried. Sorry, I think I feel okay, but my head hurts. But why are we here? Why is we're back. We're back. We're back.
And that yeah, insane question, Dodge. Anything to not admit to any cop adjacent experience whatsoever. Anything. Okay, all right.
Why are we here? Why is there no light? And why are we alone?
We all looked at each other, and for a few seconds, nobody knew how to answer. Kate quickly decided it was his job to do so.
We're back at the clip. We're back at the clip.
We're not aware of what caused the smoke, but it must have triggered a special alarm that shut down all entrance and exit methods. That means we all have to stay here for the next 12 hours, and it's possible there's only 8 of us who didn't evacuate in time. Things were stuck here for 12 hours, and the smoke caused an alarm to go off and shut all the doors and the windows. We all slightly lowered our heads, unsure whether his abrupt explanation had been a good idea directed at a kid who had just woken up. Isla processed that information in silence for a minute. I didn't expect she'd take it well. But against my own prediction, she passively tossed out some words in response.
Excuse me, I would think to check for the Sekimeiya because I could pawn it. Okay, that happened like 20 years ago. Oh, I see. So we're going to be here for 12 hours? What will we do until then?
20 years is enough for the statute of limitations to expire, right? You're fine? We're so cool right now? We're so cool? I was relieved that she hadn't reacted badly. Telling the kid to stay put somewhere for many hours was something that could have gone much worse. Sadly, there's not much to do here. The first floor is filled with exhibition rooms, and it's officially called the Crystal Floor in reference to all the gems. The upper floors are nothing but offices, and I'm afraid they're as interesting as they sound. They're offices? Does that mean we could use them to communicate with the outside? Is that what you meant earlier when you said that could be possible? Oh, no. Usually that would be the case, but the local internet connection is also something that the alarm shuts. Oh! They do that! Precisely to block all communication methods. The interconnection was cut. Will it come back when the exit opens? Yes, we can't access it until then. There's no phone either, and I don't have mine in here.
Clearly, the Ashia Corporation is purposely trapping people in here for 12 hours for some sort of like research project for a killing game, okay?
It's gotta be.
It's gotta be.
There was never a Sekimeiya.
Yeah.
What do you mean then? How do we have any way to speak to anyone outside? The room where I work, the security room, has a function that lets us enable communication with the outside. That one should not be out of commission. Okay, there we go. We have one. That was slightly relieving. If we could talk with people and understand the situation better, that'd make the wait much more bearable.
So before he came here from the security room, he contacted someone, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
However, it seems strange to me that the communication method wouldn't be disabled. Entirely blocking off the exit and shutting down the internet connection seemed to indicate the goal was to fully isolate the interior. Ignoring one method sounded a bit strange, which must have meant it wasn't one anyone would know how to access. Yes, that's the strange part. That they weren't completely blocked out. Yeah, okay. Isla stood up and brushed herself off. She seemed ready to say something else, but a nearby sound startled us. Ding, ding, ding. We turned to face it and were met with a door opening. It was the one that led to the lobby. Had someone else gotten trapped? I thought that until I saw Sai next to the door. Then I realized he hadn't said anything since he told us his name. What do you think his shirt says?
Carbuncle.
I think it's Carbuncle too, yeah. Why do we both think Carbuncle?
Because we played Final Fantasy XIV like less than 24 hours ago.
That's true. His left hand was gripping the knob.
Chat says it's wood carbuncle. I don't know what that means. But we're technically correct.
Where are you going? It looked like we were all
Why'd
a
you
little
say it
confused.
though?
I don't know. It looked like we were all a little confused that he'd been about to leave without warning.
I'm gonna check the lobby. I'm not doubting what Kate has said, but I haven't personally seen the exit closed. So I'm curious if it could be forced open, for example.
Nobody said anything. Instead, everyone but Shiroya, who was still sitting down, began to slowly walk to the door. I took the opportunity to pull her aside and check on her.
Wood Carbuncle is a reference to Remember 11, a mystery VN that Uchikoshi worked on before 999.
Ooh. This was a deliberate attack, and I want to find out who did it if I can. Are you okay with that?
Why are you asking me that?
If you want to just hole up in the room for 12 hours, I'll respect it. But I don't want the person or people responsible getting away, and I think you feel the same way.
Yeah, I just don't want you to get caught up in something dangerous, Satsuki.
It's not like I'm some detective, I know that, but if you know someone lying or find out something I don't, I want to know. I just figure if we really are trapped here, we should keep track of what happens. With the note system, the culprit must have gotten trapped, so we can't trust anyone here. Are these two together, do you think, or just friends?
I don't know.
I think friends. But
I think friends, yeah. I know. Usually the police would handle this, but if the cameras are all covered, there might be no records. The longer I believe that they're just friends, the longer I can believe that we're getting introduced to all these men as Atsuki's potential romance options.
Oh, it's that kind of VN. Okay.
Yeah, I hope so.
And if they got away, I just read yours. Shit.
You did. It's okay.
I
They're
knew
friends
perfectly
just
well
like
what she
us.
meant without her finishing the sentence.
Oh.
I'm hoping that whoever did this was stupid enough to get caught on camera before that happened, but we'll see. I know you're right. We're not the police. I just don't know who we can trust.
Sorry, I'm just trying to process everything. I didn't mean to be so quiet until now. I feel the same way you do. Maybe I feel worse, actually. I hate this. I want this to be over.
Yeah, me too. Let's get going.
Remember when you said that maybe it's like a time loop fucking bullshit thing whenever we were hanging out? Yes, that's right,
Yeah.
chat. We talked about the Sekimeiya when we were hanging out. I bet it is.
Yeah, it seems like a time loop thing, right? Like
Yeah.
someone's gone through this before. Yeah, I helped Shiroya to her feet, and we headed to where everyone else had gone.
You want me to take
into
this?
another world. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. As if we'd stepped into another world, the lobby looked almost as it had when we'd last been there. The lights weren't blackened, but some had been turned off, most likely automatically. Only a bit of the smoke had sneaked through the gaps of the doors, forming a dark outline around them. That would have been all if it weren't for the metal shutter blocking the door we'd entered through. Aside from the reception desk, the only things of note in the room were the couch and cleaning bucket. Everyone seemed to have lapsed into silence except for Kate, who simply appeared as if he didn't know what to tell us. Oh, guess there's no way we're opening that.
Isn't it a bit too much? Why would they trap us like this? I agree that this looks over the top, but I'm afraid the same had occurred with every window of the tower, and all the blockades are designed to not let sound pass. We won't be leaving earlier than intended. I apologize that this has happened.
Can't you at least tell us why? Why is there a metal shutter here? This doesn't look normal at all.
My apologies, but as I said earlier, I'm not allowed to supply that information. But don't misinterpret me. Even though I could give you some details, I'm mostly kept in the dark when it comes to knowing the reasons. I'm only charged with making sure the system is functional, so I wouldn't be able to tell you much about what you want to know.
What are the details you know then? Look at it from our perspective. You can't stay in the dark forever.
I understand, I promise. However, I can't say anything.
We all felt the need to sigh. Knowing information was being kept from us wasn't a pleasant thought, and it disrupted any cooperation we might have wished for. However, it would have been unreasonable to press the issue further. 12 hours it is then. After saying that, he walked up to the shutter and tried to move it aside to confirm that it was as sturdy as it looked. Of course, it didn't budge at all. Shrugging a little, Sai turned back. The store wasn't closed, by the way. It was slightly open.
Yeah, I saw that.
And look, very little smoke passed through it.
So it was opened after the smoke was released.
Yes, it was closed when we were knocked out.
I was the one who opened it.
This guy's so sus, by the way. Most sus person on screen so far.
Kate or the other side? Kate. Yeah, like if you were in the situation, like you already be going like full Karen on him, right? Like give us the information. Yeah. Like yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I see. I looked at the other door. Although it was closed, it appeared that more smoke had gone through it. There was something else piquing my curiosity.
Kate, you said all methods of escape were sealed. What are those? Or rather, how many of them are on this floor? On this floor, only this one. It doesn't have windows, so this is all that's locked. The other floors do have windows, though, and they were fully sealed, too, as soon as the alarm went off. I see. I'd assume the smoke's goal was to isolate the event room to have an easy path to it, obtain the gem, and then leave with it. That's strange.
Strange? I think that's the most likely scenario, too.
I say that because the lobby has been left alone. If the goal was to bring the Sekimeiya outside, why wouldn't they also release the smoke here? After all, 2 full hallways were attacked, so why not the lobby too?
Yeah, if the goal was to bring the Sekimeiya out during all the confusion, it doesn't make sense that they didn't do it here. I don't know what released the smoke. I didn't see anything in the hallways, but this is a much bigger room. It could be that whatever method they used simply wouldn't have worked here. Maybe. If you wanted to block off the security cameras only to then be spotted in this hall, your plan obviously wasn't very well thought out. Could it be that leaving with the Sekimeiya wasn't the goal of the plan? Or maybe that they intend to do it later? Is it realistic to think anyone could alert everyone with smoke, leave with this incredibly rare item, and not be caught immediately? Even if the cameras were blocked, once outside, you're still one of the last people to exit and wouldn't be allowed to leave freely and unexamined. There is something that comes to mind, and it's why I only asked about this floor's escape routes. The lobby was never used to escape. Now, Kate says the windows on the upper floors are sealed, meaning if they are not, they provide a feasible way out. Keeping in mind that the alarm came late and we never actually saw the Sekimeiya at any point, including after building entire hours worth of theories on hypothetically building a plan for robbing it, could it be that by the time we stepped into the room, it already wasn't there? The culprit could have gone up a floor to escape through the windows. Kate hasn't spoken about the footage of this time frame, so he might not have been looking at the cameras. Then again, even if the cameras spotted the culprit, they'd be able to leave through a prepared window route and flee immediately once outside. Then, use an automated mechanism to create the smoke and lock the tower right before the Sekimeiya is ever shown to the public. For the people outside, this would make it look as if it's still in the building and entirely obscure the time in which it was stolen. We started our session a bit later than expected because Shiroya and I were slightly delayed, but even if we'd gone faster and seen the missing Sekimeiya, it wouldn't have meant anything to the person who'd successfully stolen it, since we'd be locked inside. If I assume some cameras recorded the culprit leaving through the window, it doesn't make sense that the smoke would then be deployed. However, if they also had a way around those cameras using another method, it'd give off the illusion that someone who got trapped must have been the one to steal the Sekimeiya, and only after the smoke showed up. After all, the lobby was left untouched, and no one would have left through it after the smoke appeared. Since the alarm came later, whatever else the culprit did one floor above must have triggered it. Maybe the culprit triggered it purposely, which is why it didn't match the smoke's timing. That would be a great plan that ended in success. I am loving...
Right now...
Sorry,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm loving the idea, like this, because we're reading this out loud, especially, I'm loving the idea that like the rest of the room is just watching him stare at the ceiling for like 7-minute periods while he constructs these in his head. And he did nothing, not just absently, just in his mind palace.
This is why Shiroya is so quiet all the time, because she knows what he's like. He's just constantly going.
Shiroya is so quiet all the time because she's doing it too. We're just not seeing her internal monologue. Maybe the second part of the visual novel will be seeing the inside of her head and all of her yapping.
And by their theories combined, they'll have a full motive. Interesting.
You love the idea of him making all these theories, but the actual thing is whoever was closest took the Sekimeiya and swallowed it. What were you gonna say? Sorry.
I love that he's theorizing this whole entire thing, that this is just a setup to hide the first crime that happened before they even entered the room. It's just so elaborate.
Yeah.
That's the story. And the story is just 12 hours going like, well, they pulled it off. That's it. I'm just stuck here now until the end.
Answer's arc is Isla's perspective. Absolute truth. It's possible. Anything could happen in Answer's arc. I might be deluding myself a bit too much. You think? I'm also assuming they were able to get the Sekimeiya out of the cabinet without being noticed, which is probably too hard to believe. Not to mention, Naomi unlocked the cabinet with her key, meaning it was locked by that time. So why would the culprit lock it after getting the Sekimeiya out, let alone have a way to do it?
I believe it's far simpler than that, Sai.
Kate took a while to answer, while I'd been thinking he also had.
After all, the lobby doesn't have security cameras.
What? I realized immediately I'd already gone too far and got slightly embarrassed. Making up complicated theories was a habit of mine, but making a leap without even considering the facts was the last kind of mistake I needed to be making given the circumstances. Regardless, that seemed pretty ridiculous. It was a big lobby, so even though I couldn't spot any cameras, I figured they were well hidden. All of us frowned, doubting that decision, and chat did too.
I know it might sound strange. Next to the main door are guards who inspect everyone who enters, making sure they don't possess any kind of suspicious item. For this very reason, the fact that a big quantity of smoke was somehow released from the inside is already very strange. There's nothing of value in this lobby. The only way to access any valuable item is by entering in the actual expedition section through one of the 2 hallways. There's no other way to reach the gemstones aside from those 2 doors. Since there are cameras in the hallways, the entrance to the valuables is monitored. Having them here is simply not necessary. This is just so stupid on so many levels.
What the hell? You guys aren't very good at the security thing, are you?
Okay, I'm glad that they're calling it out. We have our reasons, but nobody could steal anything and leave without being recorded.
But it meant, with the smoked hallways, it was actually possible someone could have stolen something and left without being seen by the cameras. Although it was incredibly hard to believe that once outside, they could have managed to leave with the stolen object. Even more so after seeing how harsh the security measures were. Without a doubt, everyone who'd evacuated must have been searched to make sure they hadn't been in possession of anything suspicious. You said there's no way to make it to the actual rooms containing the gemstones. Then what about that door? She was pointing at a smaller door situated behind the reception desk.
Oh, that leads to a room right under us. Past the door, a staircase goes up to the room that stores the main boiler for the building, the electrical meter, the circuit breakers, and some pieces of furniture that we don't use anymore. Shannon and Cannon. Naturally, there are no cameras there either.
It's right under us?
Yes, the staircase is a semicircle, so that room, which we call the mechanical room, is below the lobby.
What about that computer? Can we use it for anything?
No, as I said earlier, the internet connection has been cut. That's not all, though. The alarm also disabled this computer so that the people trapped inside couldn't look through its files. Oh, we can't even play Balatro? What the fuck?
That shit sucks. Is the door locked?
It's not. Since it's right behind the reception counter, visitors can't enter it.
It's so dumb. The system is so dumb. Literally all it takes is like 10 seconds of social engineering and someone distracts a security guard and someone waltzes right past them. Or like someone creates a distraction on the other side of the room.
I doubt the room could have been used for anything regarding this incident. Even if someone managed to make it inside, they would have needed a key to access the breakers, and it's not like the lights went out.
Would Naomi have had that key?
Naomi? No, that's not part of her job. I do have it, but I don't think I've ever used it. Never? As a thought, could we power off the system in charge of the alarm to open up the exit? No, of course not. It'd be a big oversight if a thief could go there, force open the lid, and then break free. Not every circuit could be handled from that room, only the basic ones that power on lights and such. Essential operations like the security system and maintenance functions can't be turned off. I don't believe you. I see.
With another escape method eliminated, our spirits sank. Meanwhile, Isla seemed captivated by our talk and stared at us intensely.
Ooh.
Ooh, what is that? She seemed to be looking at Shiroya's neck. This? It's a pendant. I believe it's tanzanite, right?
Yeah.
It's really pretty. I want one like it.
This is Sekimeiya. You said it's tanzanite? I really doubt that. This seems to be an imitation. They're very common.
Fuck do you care?
Yeah, what?
What are you harshing her fucking buds for? Like, what do you mean? Is that so? I don't know. Shiroya gave him a terse reply, obviously displeased. Yeah, she should be. Fuck that.
If it's not, then that gem must be worth an immense sum.
It doesn't matter, though. I really like it. Isla, you wanted to say something else before, right? What was it? Yeah, we came here for the Sekimeiya, right? I just wanted to go see it. She glanced down, expecting to get scolded, but nobody reacted that way because this 9-year-old girl, or whatever, was the first one to think of looking for the Sekimeiya. There's no way it's still there, right? What even was it? Sai began looking at me and ended his sentence at Akaro. Sai began looking at me and ended his sentence at Akaro. We hadn't mentioned that we hadn't yet seen the Sekimeiya, so since I had freely spoken about it having been stolen, it was only natural he had assumed we'd seen it missing.
Yeah, of course. Actually, we don't know. We never saw it. We were gonna check on it when we woke up, but Arena's shout interrupted us.
Are you serious? Shiroya and Akaro nodded as well, and everyone else had the same look as Sai. It seemed they'd all assumed the Sekimeiya had been stolen. Once again, without warning, Sai made his way out of the lobby. Sai, best boy so far, by the way. Sai, voice of reason. Why aren't we playing Sai instead? Isla was the first to follow him. No one objected as we were all curious about what the Sekimeiya actually was and whether it would even be there.
Oh, we gonna find out? Oh my god.
Oh my god. Alright, you can take back over.
Okay. Take over.
Oh, what's
Here we
this?
go. Shiroya and I made our way back to the room where we had fallen unconscious. The memories. Once Katai entered, our 7 pairs of eyes focused on the dark-colored curtain that blocked the view to the cabinet's interior. Oh, is Naomi dead in there?
So, also I think we're on new content. I think we've achieved new content, by the way.
New content.
This is new content. We're past where we read to before. So.
Time for a break.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect time for a break. So, you're saying that none of you saw behind this curtain before or after the smoke, right?
Yes, Naomi was about to raise it, but then the smoke appeared. People went quiet at the mention of Naomi. Given the alarm had played when she'd been there, her disappearance was very strange.
Let's see then. What do you guys think? Is it still here?
It was very hard to think it still would be, and going off their expressions, everyone else agreed with me.
I say it is. That would make things more interesting, wouldn't it? And I'm curious about how it looks.
After those questionable words, Sai proceeded to slowly raise the curtain, exaggerating his own action.
For no reason at all, we'll thank subs right now. Thank you, Jelly Channel TTV. Hello, Jelly. Oh, right, it's my anniversary. I guess it's just like me to obnoxiously make it all about me when it's not my stream. So tense and strained. I'm sorry, Jelly. I was hoping you wouldn't read that shit. Jelly, we love you. Jelly, we love you. It can be your stream.
We love you.
It can be your stream. Do you think the writer's intentions are for the reader to also forget they didn't actually check the Sekimeiya? Maybe. I guess maybe people who aren't as obnoxious as me might actually forget that. Yeah, it's possible.
It's clear the writer's intentions was to have all the characters here at this big reveal that's about to happen, and they just like forced it to happen like that, I think.
Oh wait, Lemonade has a great idea. Should we poll who thinks it's still there before we check?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, Mons, can we get a poll? Everybody can vote. Is it there?
Have you seen Baldur crashing out about Katsuya this whole entire time?
No.
Baldur, who has read the fucking story?
No, I didn't. I was reading. All right. Let's see. I don't think we can make it a bet. There's too many people. There's too many people in chat who have read it.
Is it there? It's there. It's not. We don't find out now. Wow, that would be insane. A lot of people think that.
Oh, somebody already made it a bet? Okay. The thing you have to know about my chat, Joe, is that they always tie polls.
Oh, do they?
So yeah, so the regulars are probably tying. We don't find out now. My call is it's not there now, but it was earlier, right after the smoke. Yeah, my feeling is it was there and then got stolen during the hour-long block when they conspicuously didn't check it.
I would hate that so much.
Yeah.
I would hate that.
It's sort of like
much.
Chekhov stupidity to me. Like, why would they be that stupid unless it was serving a plot purpose? You know.
Chekhov's stupidity.
Yeah, Chekhov's himbo. I will once again restate that I'm incapable of taking any hate directed toward me seriously. I find the concept of people getting mad at me for existing inherently hilarious. That's good, Jelly. You're pretty great. Okay. The term is idiot ball on TV tropes. It's a good thing I don't read TV tropes then. Oh, poll's almost done.
Here we go.
VOD viewers skip forward 4 hours.
12 hours.
Skip forward 12 hours. All right, ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
As the curtain was being raised, dust that had gotten stuck on it shook loose and formed a little pile on the floor. The major part of what the curtain was covering was clean wood that contrasted the stained room. Finally, a transparent pane of glass sheltering a cushion came into view. The curtain had been fully raised. Because of the darkness of the room, it took us a bit to see what was behind that glass.
Let me see. Is it there?
Sai, being next to the cabinet, was staring inside. We all got closer as well. Inside was a red cushion, a color that would have definitely looked beautiful if not for the lack of a proper illumination. And on that cushion, occupying a small space of it, was a white-colored sphere. Looking closer, it wasn't actually a sphere, but an egg-shaped stone. It shined very faintly.
An egg for Easter! Oh my god!
Wow!
Paquetto said, I told you how funny it is you're starting Seki Sundays on Easter when it looks like an egg. The egg is fuck. It's the time egg! Oh shit.
It's just an egg? It was big and could easily be mistaken for an actual egg. However, we all knew it wasn't. Did we? Naomi had told us it was a pretty incredible rare gem, and putting aside how simple it was, it looked very pretty and elegant.
Why are people supposed to touch it? Just because it feels funny?
Maybe it's warm, like an egg.
Oh no. It's this, right? It wasn't taken. Are you saying this was Ashia's big find? How can we be sure it's the real thing?
It is. I have seen it before. I happened to spend hours in front of the security cameras, but just not when smoke is appearing. I looked dumbfounded and couldn't help but stare. How disappointing. I guess it still pleases all those other people, but I came here purely out of curiosity. And despite not having any kind of expectations, I'm embarrassed to admit I'm a bit let down. This could be as rare as you want to call it, but it's just an egg. An incredibly valuable one, apparently.
How can they afford that egg in this economy? That's a good question. And it's still here? Well, what was all this smoke for then? I know I said I hoped for this to be the case, but I'm not too sure anymore. This probably means the culprit's plan wasn't really all that elaborate. They might just plan to spend 12 hours with us, and when it's time to leave, have an easy way out with this thing. And how exactly will they pull that off? I don't know, but it's practically impossible. What's happening doesn't have to do with this, right? The end goal must be to steal it, so this just means the plan isn't over yet.
I'm not so sure. Hey Katai, do you know if Naomi was aware of the existence of that alarm? Naomi? She should have not been, but I couldn't tell you for sure. Why? Wait, the people here weren't aware of the security measures that might kick in? Really? Imagine this for a... Oh, no one would work here if they knew they were going to be stuck here for 12 hours if there was a security glitch. Yeah. Imagine this for a second. Naomi's job was perfectly positioned for this. She acted confused when the attack happened, but was prepared for the smoke. However, the alarm that locked her inside didn't factor into her plan because she wasn't aware of it. Atsuki, you said you'd heard the alarm a few seconds after the smoke was released. Do you know how many approximately? Oh, yeah, 20 maybe? Yeah, 20. Yeah, I was counting. Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
So 20 seconds later, pretty much everyone is unconscious and Naomi hears this alarm. By this point, she doesn't know what that is trapping her in the tower. If she had, she wouldn't have pretended to be unconscious until we all woke up. Would have. But she didn't. Instead, she obtained the Sekimeiya thanks to her key and left with it to proceed with her plan. Then she found out that she was trapped, and then she just brought it back, Lameo. I'm not sure how it continues now, or how she intended to escape, but she realized that the exit had been blocked off. Katai said this was a very specific alarm that hadn't gone off before, so it makes sense if she didn't recognize its sound. We're
gonna find Naomi dead. We gotta be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Locked in.
Well, as she finished searching for an exit or a way to continue with her plan, she thought her only choice was to come back and play the confused card, but as she was coming back, she probably heard me opening the door and backed out. It's clear she's the most suspicious person in the building. It's possible she was listening to us and heard that we didn't look behind the curtain. By leaving before doing so, we gave her a chance to look innocent. When we were in the hallway, she simply entered the room again and placed the Sekimeiya back in the cabinet. Now it's possible to find her playing dumb or pretending to be knocked out somewhere, claiming she was disoriented and trying to assess the situation. It's impossible she's not trapped in here with us. How long were we knocked out for? Is it said that?
I don't think it was determined.
Okay.
There are no clocks anywhere on the walls, which is done purposely to make it harder for us to figure that out. Less than 12 hours. Thank you. Yeah, true.
True.
Yep, there are no clocks. I see. That would make sense. It could very well be that this top secret alarm only played whenever someone tried to get the Sekimeiya out of here, and she hadn't been informed of it.
Sai shot Katai a glance, clearly displeased that he had to make that assumption based on limited information.
Come on, we haven't found her yet, so shouldn't you wait to draw conclusions until we do? For all we know, she's looking for a way out to help us.
You're right. We can't assume that Naomi is responsible, and we need to establish something that clears her name a little bit. Even though you guys just tried to explain things with a delayed alarm, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Naomi's job was to explain everything about the Sekimeiya and make sure the exhibition happened smoothly. An alarm that's triggered when the Sekimeiya is removed is something she would know about, so thinking she was unaware of it is pretty ridiculous. And while her position is convenient to orchestrate this, it also makes her a very strong suspect from the get-go.
August says, can you imagine if the 12 hours thing turns out to be a lie? It's almost certainly a lie. They wouldn't have removed all of the possible ways of telling time. Like, there are not even any windows, I don't think. They have to be fucking with it.
I can't be sure of this, but before the time I heard the alarm, I did hear the sound of a body falling, and given all three of us were already down on the floor, it must have been Naomi's. On top of that, what if it was someone on the ceiling that just Mission Impossible down onto the floor, but the rope was too long and they didn't realize it? On top of that, the glass hadn't been opened, so if she opened it while I was on the floor and triggered the alarm, I think I would have heard it. I'm kind of surprised that part of the experience of this incredibly rare gem is touching it. What the fuck? That's weird.
Yeah, they want you to touch it because it feels like an egg, and you go, oh, that's weird.
Touch the egg.
Yeah, touch the egg.
God, it's an egg.
Who would steal the Sekimeiya, Batman or Spider-Man, when they're clinging to the ceiling?
Spider-Man. Batman doesn't do any crime. What are you talking about?
In the opening scene, when you see the building exterior, there's one window per floor except the top floor too. Yeah. They talked about windows on the top floors, but nothing down here. All right.
Not to mention how risky this is. Surely she would have waited until all of us were definitely unconscious to get the Sekimeiya out. This also implies the alarm was unstable. Even if she triggered it by opening the cabinet, she had previously unlocked it. The alarm would have gone off when someone forced it open, not when someone opened it after unlocking it. However, there's one thing that's totally impossible, and that is that the Sekimeiya was first stolen and then brought back. Wait, what? Karo seemed intrigued to know why his idea was incorrect. Remember the curtain back then? Oh, because the dust was on it. Oh, I think I see what you mean. Hold on, decoy dust. The black substance had already dried on the curtain just now. As Sai raised it, a bunch of those particles fell on the floor, and none of them stayed on the curtain.
So it didn't move after you left.
It is not possible to touch the glass without moving the curtain. The Sekimeiya must have also been here when we woke up. It could be that Naomi brought back the Sekimeiya while we were still sleeping. That wouldn't contradict anything since the substance might not have fully dried on the curtain by that point. That doesn't make sense either, though. She would have only done that if she hadn't accounted for the alarm. So if she gave up on her plan and placed the Sekimeiya back before we woke up, she would have also closed her eyes and laid on the floor as if nothing had happened. Regardless of what the exact events had been, the Sekimeiya was inside its cabinet. What had the point of the smoke been? What had triggered the alarm, and what would happen next? It still felt surreal, everything that had suddenly happened. That wasn't a bad deduction by our boy there. That was all right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. Can I touch it? What? No, don't.
Isla had been staring at the Sekimeiya with an astonished face, maybe because it seemed to be the core of everything. Touching it must have sounded almost dangerous.
Why not? Naomi was gonna let us do it. Is this even open? It looks like the glass is shut.
It shouldn't be. According to what Naomi said earlier, the key she had must have unlocked it. If it's open, you should be able to move the glass.
Let me see. It's open, yes. I can scroll the glass down.
The glass had a little opening to put your fingers in and push it down. If the lock was open, we'd be able to move it. From the looks of it, it was not a very sturdy or wide piece of glass, so breaking it with force seemed possible too. Sai scrolled it all the way down, and we fixed our eyes on the Sekimeiya, no longer protected by any layer of security. Isla extended her arm slowly. Nobody except Arena looked concerned about her doing it, but I could tell that Shiroya was still agitated by the fact that none of them wanted to drop everything and find the missing person. Before Isla got to touch the Sekimeiya, she spoke. I'm gonna touch the Sekimeiya. Oh, okay.
It's cold. You're right, actually. The air inside the cabinet is cold.
Oh, right. I was told about this. Apparently, the Sekimeiya must remain in a cold place. This was a very basic thing everyone was told, and it sounded very important.
If it gets warm, it'll hatch.
Yeah, it is an egg. Why would that be needed? I'm afraid I'm clueless. This is why the temperature inside the cabinet is very low, though. That sounds interesting. For whatever reason, the Sekimeiya had to always stay in a cold place, or at least that was what the Ashia family had instructed.
Sorry, August wants us to make a note. The Sekimeiya dragon egg has to be kept cold.
Otherwise, they would catch us in the cool dragon, they could fly away, so they wouldn't be stuck for 12 hours. Yeah, it would circumvent the security system. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the reason why it had been left in the cabinet even after the attack.
Do we check what happens if we get it out?
What? Of course not. The Sekimeiya must remain inside this cabinet. We were very specifically told not to remove it or subject it to any kind of heat. Well, hands are warm though. Maybe every time you touch it, it steals some of your memories until it has enough memories to become a real consciousness, and then it hatches.
I would like to non-lethal the cop.
Non-lethal, huh? I suppose it's still Kate's duty to act according to the rules. If something happened to the Sekimeiya, there would probably not be a positive outcome for him, given that he was basically supervising us. Assuming the blame didn't get shifted to Naomi for some reason, at least. If the Sekimeiya was actually left here due to the cold temperature, it follows whoever put the attack together must have somehow learned of that requirement. Isla, who paused her movement due to Kate's serious voice, continued moving her arm toward the Sekimeiya. In just a second, she was in reach, and her small hand was placed on top of it. Silently, she felt it for a few moments before letting out an amazed gasp.
Oh, it's very smooth. I love it.
She started feeling it conspicuously with a smile on her face.
Is it? Naomi did say that touching it was part of the experience.
Shiroya joined her, evidently trying to make Isla feel better.
You're right. This feels very pleasant to the touch and also really cold.
Worth all the advertisements and expectations? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not really. But touching it is pretty relaxing. It feels almost silky.
Given our situation, the fact that Naomi is missing, we should let this be. I know we'll most likely be here for 12 hours, but this piece is very important, and we should not be careless. Sai and I were going to be the next ones to touch it, but we had to respect that. Without responding verbally, Ayla and Shiroya removed their hands from the cabinet. Katai's request was a reasonable one, and we still had more important things to think about. Even though 6 of us had come to see the Sekimeiya, only Ayla seemed to have a legitimately strong interest in it. Alright, so the only 2 of them touched it, so now if they die, the Sekimeiya will bring them back to life. There we go. And everyone else can die permanently. There we go.
Whoa.
That's it. I'm on my supernatural bullshit.
All right.
I looked at the left side of the cabinet, expecting to find something. There was the keyhole Naomi had used to unlock the glass. It says it here, unlocked. This is how Naomi unlocked the cabinet. Katai, do you know how many keys can open it? I don't know for sure, but certainly not many. I'm only aware of the one Naomi had.
So the only person who can open this is Naomi, who just happened to disappear and might be hiding somewhere. Stop assuming her intentions are bad just because we haven't seen her yet. We have to find her as soon as we can.
Yes, but before that, we have to contact the outside from the security room. I would like to know what our situation actually looks like, and if Naomi went upstairs all by herself and chose to leave us unconscious, I won't be prioritizing her now.
I guess so. Splitting up is probably a bad idea, but if she isn't back when we finish, we really need to go looking.
There wasn't any other opposition. If Naomi intended to show herself to us, we would come back eventually. I think they should split up. We worked under the assumption that she still had the cabinet key. However, if she'd ever fallen unconscious, someone could have easily grabbed it, maybe failing to recognize that the cabinet was already unlocked. If she'd woken up as that happened, the culprit might have panicked and been responsible for her disappearance. But that was a worst case scenario, and not something we could easily jump to. It was true that contacting the outside was much more important. Kind of weird it hasn't happened already, actually, Kate.
Yep.
Let's go to the security room. This is where I work. We're very close to it, actually. It is beneficial to have it on the lowest floor, next to the entrance. Katai closed the glass and gave us a look that once again indicated how precious of an item the Sekimeiya was. Subsequently, he opened the opposite door of the room. Past it was a very similar hallway. Like in the other one, the ceiling and walls were stained by an ugly dark color. It had been a while since the smoke's release, so the substance had dried up fully, letting more light pass through. Once everyone was with us, I peeked into one of the rooms in front of us. As Hikaru had said, it looked clean, creating the same contrast as the lobby. The light worked perfectly, and there was almost no trace of the smoke apart from the small amount that had passed through the gaps of the door. It seemed the function of the room was to only showcase different kinds of gemstones placed inside cabinets. I couldn't be sure though, as all of them were covered by curtains. Maybe they stole all the rest of the gemstones and left the Sekimeiya for fun. It's that door. Without moving, Katai said those words, indicating the single door that stood out. While all the others were normal wooden doors, the one behind that one was gray and looked much more sturdy. Once Katai approached it, we walked behind. I thought his room was behind the desk.
No, that's
the
like
lobby.
that's like the maintenance room where like the power supply and stuff is.
Oh, so that's a different room than the security room.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. On it was a nameplate with the word security room. Katai grabbed the doorknob, and upon turning it, he tried to push the door forward. However, it didn't budge. Oh, right. I locked it earlier. Let me see.
You
Weird.
locked
Yes, I have the key right here. All right. Katei's pretty sus.
Kate is so sus.
Taking a couple keys out of his pocket, Kate inserted one of them into the keyhole. This is an important room. When I left, I wasn't exactly aware of the situation. Given I couldn't see through some of the cameras, I found it appropriate to lock the only room that allows communication with the outside until I knew more about what had happened.
That was probably a good idea. Disagree.
Okay, and when you found a child unconscious, you didn't rush back to the security room to say, hey, there's a child unconscious here, break the shutters down? Okay, with a simple turn, the door was audibly unlocked. Before entering, I inquired about something I found next to it. Oh, is this a map? I almost didn't notice it since the entire wall looks the same. Yes, it's a map of this first floor. The rooms labeled with a letter and a number are what we call the crystal rooms. They're the exhibition rooms where all the gemstones are displayed. I brushed off the dry dust and looked at it.
Oh no.
Oh. Minimap unlocked. Press middle click to access it. You can display it permanently in settings. Which one's the Sekimeiya room? Event room?
The one with 2 doors, presumably. Yeah.
As Katai had said, the map only showed the first floor's contents, and it seemed stairs and an elevator would lead us to the others. It was the only floor that was usually open to the public, so there was a large number of rooms to visit. We found ourselves in hallway A next to the security room and had much left of the whole floor to look through.
I was requested to put the chat over the minimap, and I will not be moving it. Thank you.
At a notable point, the event room was the only room that connected both hallways apart from the lobby and the perpendicular hallway C. As expected, there were bathrooms too, so we wouldn't have to worry on that front. Thank God. Thank God.
There's light coming from the end of the hallways. That means the horizontal one wasn't hit by the smoke, right?
Yes, only these sections were. Katai, who claimed to have slightly inspected the floor, showed us exactly where the smoke had been released. It makes an H. So if one of the goals of the smoke was to disable the security cameras, it didn't use hallway C for anything. Yes, I looked at the live footage of it while I was in this room, and no one showed up. They still would have had 2 available ways to cross the hallways, though. Everyone looked pensive, including Isla, but they voiced none of their thoughts. The layout was pretty simple. Remembering it wouldn't be a problem, but we could always look at the map again.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Do you? Do
Yeah.
you? Do you think the map is going to change as it goes on?
I think that my bad feeling was that I'm gonna have to think about this map. Because it's gonna matter, because it's got a tab in the settings. I didn't even get as far as the fact that the map might change. I thought that maybe they want me to care about the map. We can look at it though.
Mech room. Hold on, isn't the building a square? The map doesn't match.
Ooh. Oh. Uh-oh. It's also to track the most recent place you were in, with the smaller dots being older. Oh, that's actually... Okay, that's actually interesting.
Neat.
Yeah, I like
that.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. So this is the one, A3 was the one where we went in and looked at all of the colored gems, covered gems.
Wait, what is the mech room? Oh, that's where they keep one of their sentinels. There's 12 of them, one for every hour that we're in here. Yeah. Katai waited until everyone was done examining it to open the door.
Thank you, Boulder.
This room's tiny.
Do you want me to take over?
I just looked into. Oh yeah, sure, go for it.
Like the lobby and the room I just looked into, this place was completely clean and no traces of smoke could be found, not even any that had slipped through the door. However, the contrast wasn't as noticeable, given the room's darker colors and faint light. Paying no mind to everyone's silence, Kate made his way to the chair and sat down. When he moved the mouse, the computer exited its suspended state and reactivated the 3 monitors above it, showing us what the last person to use it had been doing. Sorry, I remembered the monitors in Split Fiction, where each of the people he was on call with had their own monitor. Above those 3 screens were many more monitors that displayed the real-time footage of the cameras. While there was no way every room of every floor was shown there, at first glance, there was no trace of Naomi or another person. All these security cameras, does this mean we'll be able to look at the recorded footage?
We should be able to. I don't believe you'd be authorized to, but given the situation, we might be able to look at it after we talk with the outside. Okay, is there a clock on the computer?
That was an interesting proposition. Looking at the recorded footage might have revealed the source of the smoke if someone else hadn't been able to evacuate, and information on Naomi's whereabouts. We all got closer to Kate and looked at the screens. It seemed the computer was using a standard operating system. Is this the current time?
Oh yes, this means it's now 9:41. Ah!
As Kate said, next to the numbers that displayed the date, the current time showed 9:41. That meant the exit would unlock at approximately 21:05 in 11 hours and 20 minutes. So the exhibition was starting at exactly 9 a.m., which means it's been 41 minutes since we arrived. So we were knocked out for like less than 30 minutes, probably.
Okay. Do we want to write that down? With our handy note system?
I mean, should we write down what this guy just said?
We started a bit late, so let me read it and see what he says. Or, we started a bit late, but I think the smoke appeared 5 minutes after we left the lobby. I'd say we've been awake for more than 20 minutes already, so this would mean we were unconscious for about 15 minutes. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, let's write down unconscious for 15 minutes.
We can copy it from the search. How do I copy text from search? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Oh, I see.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Made a note.
Yes, this matches with the amount of time I stayed here after I saw the smoke. Shortly after that, the alarm went off, so I knew I was already trapped. During that time, until I exited, I stayed looking at the cameras. I also tried to use the computer to look up information about what happened, but the alarm even shut down my internet connection.
Wait, what? Why would it do that? You said you still have a way to communicate with the outside, so why didn't you use it?
Oh, I did not find it appropriate. My top priority was to find out what was happening here, so I focused on looking at all the cameras that remained functional. Don't you think a very good way to find out what was happening would have been to ask the outside? You might be right. That could have been the smarter choice, but I did not think it through well enough. I'm just stupid, Lamayo.
So, even though the internet connection is cut off, you have a communication method?
Yes, this computer is connected to all the computers on the upper floors. Even though there's no connection, a way exists to connect with the Ashiya family, and only the security staff knows about it. It does not use the normal internet connection, and it was designed in case of emergencies. So, if you weren't here, we have to spend 12 hours locked up not knowing what's actually happening and without a way to communicate with the outside world.
Rodney said, congratulations, Mouse, for being the top Sekimeiya streamer ever. Thank you so much, Rodney. Thank you so much. It's all thanks to Joe.
Okay, Balder's crashing out about the fact that they could send Morse code messages to someone through the water pressure. What the fuck are you talking about, Balder?
Who's gonna be monitoring the pressure at the water company? I can't see why you let that one through. The biggest Sekimeiya streamer of all time, together with the biggest Umineko streamer of all time. It's like poetry. So true.
Wow.
So true. Wow.
On Easter, celebrating the egg too.
And you know what? I
What?
held you at gunpoint and forced you to stream Umineko, and you held me at gunpoint and forced me to stream Sekimeiya. So it's perfect.
It's true. It's completely
perfect.
at gunpoint. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything was held hostage. Yep. Yes, it sounds rough, but this alarm doesn't get triggered lightly. What? We should just be content with the fact that I stayed inside. I wouldn't have been doing my job if I'd evacuated.
We didn't want you to evacuate. We wanted you to. Okay. I'm so cool. I'm so chill right now. Nobody had anything else to add, so Kate proceeded. Deep within many folders, he started up a program that contained a very simple interface. After inputting a username and an encrypted password we couldn't read, he pressed the enter key. Bloop. The small window shifted into a much larger and empty one. The first thing we noticed was a loud, unintelligible audio feed was being played. Seconds later, a video appeared in the center of the window. This character is Joe? Okay. Is this a car? Yeah, it looks like a car seat. Everyone looked at Kate, but he shrugged and kept watching. The video was probably live, and the echo was obnoxiously loud. We could hear many people talking in the background, but it was impossible to make out any words. We continued staring at the screen, unsure what we were actually looking at. Is anything going to change? Nobody answered a question they couldn't answer. After more than 15 seconds, nothing had changed, and the audio continued playing. This is for communication, right? Can they hear us right now?
They actually should be able to. Hello? Can anyone hear us? Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Amidst the messy noise, we noticed one of the voices was strengthening.
I'm from Ashiya, talking from inside the tower. Is anyone there? Oh, yes, it's coming from inside. There's finally an incoming connection. My apologies. Hello? Is this working? Do you see me?
Oh shit, a bop? Whoa.
Ooh.
The camera was manually moved by the person who sat in front of it. Still inside a car, a police officer was uncertainly fixing his eyes on the lens.
Yes, by the looks of it, you're aware of the situation.
Kate said that because Ashiya Tower could be seen through the car windows. A great deal of police officers were in front of it, and I could see that the metal shutter looked just as ridiculous from the other side. It was a bizarre thought knowing that we were inside. We definitely hadn't been on a streak of good luck, but getting trapped inside a building the first time we'd stepped into it let us know that life wouldn't feel like redeeming itself anytime soon.
Interesting.
So maybe what happened wasn't related to this place?
Yeah.
I had been trying to act composed and stave off all my negative thoughts, but the prospect of having to spend another 11 hours trapped in a building was daunting, and Shiroya surely felt similarly.
We know what occurred. Yes, the Ashia family was in contact with us, and we were informed of the communication method. Since a member of the security staff was assumed to still be in the tower, we kept this device with us, expecting it to be activated at any moment. I'm a police officer. My name is Suripo.
So can you see us?
No, I can only receive audio feeds.
The man sounded a bit thrown off after hearing the voice of a little girl. It was only natural, given the vast majority of the people who formed the line had been adults.
What happened in there? How many of you are inside? There should be 8 of us, even though only 7 are present. However, we can't be certain someone else didn't get trapped either. We have not inspected the entire building yet. You're in the security room, right? If there were more people, couldn't you see them through the security cameras? Let me see. We just got here, so we haven't looked extensively. Some cameras have been disabled by the smoke, and some places are without cameras, but I can try looking through the ones that remain functional. What do you mean smoke?
Since the number of monitors wasn't enough to display all the live cameras at once, Kate started to move through them with a program that seemed to manage the entire system. Presumably, only the first floor was being monitored continuously, being the one with unfettered public access. He was able to change all the cameras being displayed at once, making the process simple and brief.
And Naomi, who had another camera inside this room, which knew what cameras being switched to, was doing an elaborate dance out of all the security cameras as they became active in order to stay off the system.
My God.
I know this, yeah.
As he'd said, the only thing to be seen through a handful of them was a black screen created by the smoke. Even after the substance had solidified, there was no chance we could see well through it. Strangely enough, the last cameras that Kate displayed showcased a much different environment. The first floor had contained all the exhibition rooms, and from there it had only been dull offices. But some of the cameras were displaying a bedroom.
Wait, what? This must look odd to you all, correct? Do you know the story behind this place? This was the Ashia family's residence until a decade... Oh, God. Until a decade ago. Then its purpose changed. The work floors began to be added. There's going to be secret passages and shit. Here we go. This is why it's called a tower. The townspeople saw that the floors kept being constructed, and they started to call it a tower sarcastically, as if it would never stop increasing in height. I don't know if Ashia liked the name of it, or if they officialized it to counter its negative connotations. You might have also heard it called the Ashia skyscraper.
There's going to be secret passages, and they're going to be able to just, like, rotate parts of the building and, like, swap other rooms in, like fucking Clue. It's going to be great. Yeah.
There's going to be, like a secret cult room and rituals and shit. Like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What you're seeing is in the very top floor, where when the structure was expanded for a while, the living area was kept as the highest floor, and now it's referred to as the Ashia floor or the attic. It's not possible to enter it without a very special key, one I most certainly don't possess. In fact, I have never set foot inside it, despite monitoring these cameras daily. Meanwhile, the cop on the other side is like, "Sir, this is a fucking, like, investigation." Of course, the cameras were installed after the place stopped being their residence, and they were only placed in some of the rooms before continuing was deemed necessary. Why is there a fucking camera in the bedroom on the fucking top floor with a special key, but there's not one in the lobby? What?
As an OSHA inspector, I'm crashing out. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
How quickly could it like the police get through the shutters that are blocking the door? I think fucking 40 minutes.
I think it would take less than 11 hours, yeah.
Of course, the cameras were installed after the place stopped being their residence, and they were only placed in some of the duties necessary. The initial reason was to make sure they were preserved well, given that it was of great importance to the Ashia family. They were installed with the thought of someone breaking in, expecting to find unguarded hidden information. However, the installation process was never completed. Well, I don't know many of the details. I can say that not one time I've seen anything of importance happening inside. Oh, you look a lot then, do you?
That sounded interesting, but it didn't mean much to us. Those cameras still showed an entirely desolate space.
Every room with a camera is empty at the moment. This doesn't account for places like bathrooms, areas where the cameras are blocked by smoke, the lobby, other staff-only rooms, and the section of the attic that's not monitored.
I'm just curious, but this room doesn't have a camera either, does it? I didn't see it on the monitors.
No, it doesn't. For now, the number of us in the building is no lower than 8. We haven't been able to find the 8th person yet, but she must be here. I'm talking about Naomi Kavka, another staff member. I understand. Give me the name of everyone present. I will add Miss Kavka to the list. I am Katsui Kikiuji. I'm the main person in charge of the power security system. Everyone else I have with me is a visitor. Understood. What are your names? We're not going to do everyone, are we?
I'm Irina Majutsu. My daughter, Isla Majutsu, is who spoke earlier.
I'm noting it down. Akaro Esada. I'm noting it down. Tsutsuki Hakutoki.
Shiroya Murana. Sai.
Sai what? Just
Sai, what are you, a fucking cop? Sai Yomiya.
All right, thank you. So adding in Miss Capca, these are the 8 people we know for sure are currently inside. This will be helpful. Yes, right now she has to be in a place we can't see from here. The chances someone else is two are slim. Do you have a warrant? Are you being detained? Am I being detained? Yes, for 11 hours. So how's our situation looking? We'd also appreciate having information. We don't have much to work with, only the testimony from people who were inside at the time. Given all the visitors were in the lobby, we don't have a comprehensive rundown to give you. Unidentified smoke appeared on the first floor, and shortly after, an alarm went off. An effect of this alarm was to seal all the exit routes.
No way. Yeah, fuck Sai. Thank you, Sai. We already know this. Why was the alarm triggered and how can we leave?
There's one thing that triggers the alarm. According to what we've been told, it's forcing open the Sekimeiya cabinet. What do you mean? We were just there now and the cabinet looked fine. Not only that, but when the alarm went off, I was in the room with that very cabinet and I didn't hear anything happening to it. That sounds strange. This is reliable information that's been provided to us, so I don't know if it's possible something else triggered it. Maybe the system broke.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Fuck it. It just fucking broke. Okay.
What's for sure is that we just observed the Sekimeiya. Everything there is intact. I'm sure the Shia family will be glad to hear that. I'll tell them immediately. However, that is as expected, seeing as all that was stolen were a few gemstones of little value. Ooh, wait, what? Everyone had a hard time. Oh no, this is you.
It is me. I was just taking a moment for how the fuck do they know what got stolen when the building is locked? How do they know that the only thing that got... Okay. How do they know that the only thing that got stolen was the few gemstones when the incident isn't over? How do they know? Like, who checked that? Everyone had a hard time processing that last sentence. Meanwhile, Surapo looked to be sending a text message. Sorry? Most likely to Ashiya, assuring the well-being of the Sekimeiya.
What do you mean what was stolen? Maybe there's like an under security system that they like monitor the weights on all the podiums and shit. Like, well, and actually after the alarm went off, it took a while to confine everyone who had evacuated. A young individual carrying a black suitcase dashed off, so they were pulled aside. Inside it, we found various gemstones that belonged to Ashiya.
Oh, okay, a red herring.
That individual had refused to say anything. However, it's been assumed that some part of their actions triggered the alarm. If you say the Sekimeiya cabinet has damage, though, that puts some doubt on that conclusion.
Red herring, red herring. If their plan triggered the alarm, how did they manage to avoid getting trapped?
We don't know, but since nothing's wrong with the Sekimeiya, this seems to confirm the goal was to divert everyone's expectations to steal a bunch of regular gems while everyone in charge thought that they knew the next target. What do you mean, the next target? And how long will we need to stay here as a result of this stunt?
11 hours and like 16
yeah.
minutes at this point. What do you mean?
Both your questions are related, actually. Assume this means you haven't heard of the past incidents?
What?
Past incidents? What does that mean?
I read about it not too long ago in Yushi News, about how Ashiya Tower had suffered another robbery yet again by a group called Zin, I believe. Yushi News was a monthly newspaper that released a compilation of all the recent news. Given our town wasn't very big, it was a popular way to keep oneself updated, but it wasn't something I often looked at.
Exactly. The Ashiya family and Zin have a history together. Even though Ashiya are perceived as a major force around, when they attracted people interested in the business, they inevitably drew in competition and enemies too. That part was majorly taken by Zin, a long-running group that specializes in robberies of valuable objects, alongside similar criminal activities. When the Ashiya family became an established and wealthy entity, they also became a great target for Zin. The fact that they had developed such a calm environment meant their security measures were far from prepared. It's rumored that Zin is a small group of people who work together and put a great deal of effort into their plans. Not a single time have they been caught, which evidently gave them a very strong reputation that most people came to know. While for Yushibana residents, the Ashiya family might not look like an almighty entity, in a slightly bigger picture, they're not one at all. This led to them focusing on expanding themselves before even foreseeing or trying to prevent these attacks, which have only been getting bolder. The first one happened 2 years ago. The security at the time was nothing special, so it looked like a small job, not anything of particular note. However, since then, the attacks increased in both scale and frequency. I can tell you how big this group calling itself Zin really is, but they haven't stopped tormenting Ashiya. Alright, who in here is a part of Zin?
Yeah.
Stopping them has been pretty problematic, and now they're attacking in broad daylight with mass panic like this. At least we assume they're involved here.
Had such a battle actually been happening in the town I'd always lived in, I had purposely avoided that entire side of it, but I hadn't heard of Zin even once. I could vaguely recall having heard that Ashiya Tower had been robbed, but I'd never imagined the events were at such a large scale. Do you want to take a break soon, by the way? I have no idea how long this scene is going to go on for.
Yeah, I was gonna say we take a break at the end of the scene, but like it might be another 20 minutes, right?
I guess so.
Let's see if it's gonna break at the end of this page. Let's see.
It's a bit still. The music does slap for a break. Yeah, we'll go till the end of the page here, and then we'll break.
Okay.
No one I frequently talked to had an interest in the topic, so if it was common knowledge, I'd never been told. Ashia had always felt like a taboo, and I'd never personally researched them. I think the last time this happened wasn't too long ago, right? I was scared to bring Isla here, but she was really excited.
For no reason at all, we should take the break while she's on screen. Yes, if on the 24th of November, 21 days ago, Zin last attacked. Ignoring the latest security upgrades, they made their way in during the night and stole a lot of valuable gems. It was one of the strongest attacks Ashia had suffered to date.
It's not Noja. I can't press Z to take the text off the screen or something.
Correct. Nothing actually indicates Zin were the ones involved, and in fact, nothing ever does. However, the way everything goes smoothly and all of Ashia's efforts are proven futile screams Zin to everyone.
So this time, Ashia took it a step further, right? Perhaps we'd all been thinking that. It looked like we'd simply been caught in the middle of a rivalry, and Ashia's latest move had imprisoned us. Pretty sure that's the end of the page.
Well,
that was the end of the page.
Click.
Yeah. Mouse click. All right.
Mouse click. Okay.
All right.
Mouse bites.
Break time. Break time. Mouse bites. Break time. I'll leave this up because the music is a bop, and we'll be back in like 5-10 minutes.
Sounds good. And then we can see.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. Chat, how do we feel about kettle corn? What are our feelings on kettle corn? I think kettle corn is the peak snack.
I eat a cream egg.
Jelly says bad, awful. Have you had kettle corn, Joe?
Isn't it just popcorn?
It's popcorn with like sugar and salt on it, so it's like salty and sweet at the same time.
Oh, I've never had this. No, I would try it though.
It's peak. It's peak. It's peak. We're voting peak.
I like salt popcorn. I like sweet popcorn. I've never had salt and sweet popcorn.
Oh, it's so good. Kettle corn is the name because it gets made in big old kettles at like county fairs. They do big old kettles full of it, and then it's really like crispy and crunchy because they make the popcorn that way. That is all popcorn? No.
Does it look kind of caramelized on the outside?
Yeah, kind of. It depends. It depends. The other thing that they do at fairs that I fucking love is they do like nuts. I know the chat's gonna love this. They do like nuts, and then they make sweet, salty. Oh man, it's so good. Have I tried chocolate popcorn? Yeah, it's good. Microwave popcorn is called that specifically because it's made in a microwave. Everything else is kettled. Popcorn is usually made in a pot. If you don't make it in the microwave, as far as I know.
Popcorn. Yep.
I like almond butter. Almond butter is basically my favorite. To you, a pot and a kettle are the same thing. That is objectively incorrect. It's fine. Wouldn't it be
Microwave
called
popcorn
popcorn then? True.
Is not very good. If you've only ever had microwave popcorn in chat, like it's like it's not the worst thing in the world, but like you're missing out.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of microwave popcorn.
Man, I wonder if my microwave could even make popcorn.
You could fit at least 3 kernels in there. Thank you to Zorgrox for 100 bits. I have many things I want to say about the Sekimeiya, but I'll just say overall, in capital letters, overall, I enjoyed it. Very curious to see what 2 brains can figure out. I think saying we have 2 brains between us is generous. I think we make it to 1.5 combined. No.
I provide the half.
I was giving us 3/4 of 1 apiece. You want to be the cop?
Oh, Baldur's Gate 3 streams never end. Yes. It's possible that Zin aren't actually involved, given the stolen gems we found. Nonetheless, the way they were taken out is still unknown. They were in one of the deepest rooms of the floor you're on. Deepest rooms. What closed the exit was the alarm, which had never gone off in the past. While the Shia are denying it, malfunctions are a possibility. The alarm was supposed to only go off whenever the Sekimeiya cabinet was forced open. If stealing the gems we found was what triggered it, it doesn't make sense that they were brought outside. And on top of that, you're saying the Sekimeiya and the cabinet are intact.
2 cabinets. 2 cabinets. 2 Sekimeiya cabinets. Calling it now.
It's a fake cabinet?
Yeah. It all sounded very strange, and I was admittedly intrigued. Let's look at this. 2 cabinets. I don't have a good way to back it up with this map, but I'm saying there were 2 cabinets. It all sounded very strange, and I was admittedly intrigued.
I've been given authority to tell you about Ashia's latest move against Zin, which led to this incident. I see. This is what I felt I couldn't say earlier. Keep in mind that what I'm about to tell you is a confidential matter that you're only allowed to hear because of your circumstances. Oh man, we're honored.
Oh, shit.
One constant that has always followed with Zen attacks is that they attack during the night, presumably to minimize risks. Since no matter what Ashia tried, Zen bypassed it without an issue. They recently put their full effort into a way to eliminate the threat. The Sekimeiya expedition was no more than bait they put out to lure Zen. What? That and the alarm they secretly designed were the main two factors of their plan.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What? It's fake. The tower is equipped with cameras and security, not in the lobby though. However, Ashia hoped Zen wouldn't anticipate such an abrupt jump in their measures. There was so much advertising done for this particular showing that everyone in town bought into it. That was the goal, but on the side, Ashia secretly designed the alarm. It was going to be activated whenever the cabinet was forced open. Only one true key of the cabinet was made, and the lock was very carefully designed to only allow the correct one. The cabinet itself, however, was one they had already had and could easily be broken with force. Obviously, breaking the glass of the cabinet would also activate the alarm. It was done so that any method of getting the Sekimeiya out without the key would trigger the alarm and trap the culprit with no way to escape.
Okay. Okay.
Couldn't they be telling this to the Zen member inside the room now then?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I would start breaking things right now.
Well, just generally, or if you were in this room?
If I was in the room, I think I would start breaking things. I think I would go and like bang against the shutters and stuff. I think I would be like I would be irate. Yeah, I think so.
New theory, when the one presenter woman was opening the Sekimeiya at the start so they could touch it, she accidentally triggered the alarm and this whole thing was just a big mistake. That would be sick, actually. That would be sick. Okay, so that means that either it wasn't the Sekimeiya cabinet that she opened, or she had a fake key. Which means that either Naomi was in on it, or someone slipped her the fake key.
Or we weren't even in the real room, and we were just moved to the real room afterwards with the smoke when we were unconscious.
Yeah. Or it was all a dream. That great peanut used 100 bits to say, put the music on 100% and just both of you scream full force into your microphones.
You don't want Mouse to scream full force.
You don't. I did that once and he recoiled physically.
Yeah.
What if they moved us to a second identical building? Yeah, that's possible too. Yeah. Yep. Okay. What the hell is this about? That shutter could have injured people as they were escaping.
No, the mechanism is equipped with a sensor. If anyone had been in front of the shutter before it closed, it would have stopped moving until they stepped away. Wait.
It sounds like you putting together a Ronald McDonald hypothetical.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Okay, so someone stepped under the sensor and waited for the thief to get out, I guess, after the alarm went off. It has to be something stupid like that, yeah.
We all kept silent at the realization that our situation was far more unusual than we'd thought.
Sorry, just this is unhinged out of context. It's like Ronald McDonald. Like, you don't get it. You just disagree with the premise. You don't understand. You're full. If you're full, you're full. You just can't eat anymore. That's the point. So now we have to have Ronald McDonald to show with magical French fries to keep force feeding you until you understand the fucking premise and go along with it.
Mulder said on my blog, this line of text is just labeled with "This defeats the security system."
The final element of the plan was the room you're currently in, the security room. The alarm, along with blocking off all methods of escape, has other smaller functions such as disabling the elevator, some lights, and communication methods. The maximum time the exit was going to be shut was 12 hours.
Maximum time? Does that mean it can be less than that?
Yes, but please, don't get your hopes up. After the alarm, the Zin members that got trapped inside would have no way to leave. You might have noticed the security room's door is sturdier than the others. The last function of the alarm was to lock it. Like the cabinet's lock, once the security room's door is locked, it can only be opened with the actual key, which is possessed by the security staff. Every staff member worked to put this mechanism and plan into effect, and they knew very well what they had to do. Today, only Kate Kyuju was present. Oh, right. And also, they said that they can't see us, right? So Kate might even just be an imposter and they don't even know.
Great. The most important thing about kettle corn is that it's Casey's favorite food, and so he's going ape shit right now. Casey is my cat. He's going ape shit right now, trying to get the kettle corn out of my hand. Yeah? You want a piece? There you go.
Typical Casey behavior.
Typical Casey behavior. Yeah, Kate imposter theory. I'll post cat pictures later.
A security member would be inside the room constantly monitoring the cameras. Of course, this is always done. Zen has shown multiple ways to overcome the cameras, but this time, this was of little importance. During the time anyone from Zim was trapped, the security member in the security room would have one job: to relay information between the inside and the outside. This is why the security room is the only place where communication methods aren't cut off. Once it was all over, the security staff would be able to unlock the exit before the 12 hours. To ultimately ensure nothing funny occurred, that request would have to be approved by the Ishia family themselves. Only then would the exit be open before the maximum time. Okay, so now we're just committing crimes, because now they can open the door and let everyone out, but now they're like, no, fuck it. We're not letting you out until you figure this out, I guess? What's going on? So you're saying they won't accept it? No, they can't. They don't know why, but they are unable to even access the command that would let them give their approval to open the exit. Oh, wait, what?
Everybody in this place is fucking incompetent.
They aren't sure, but most likely something went wrong. Given the cause of the alarm is unknown, the most reasonable explanation is a malfunction.
At the entire Ashia Corporation, red text, you are incompetent. Fucking seriously.
Yep.
Hey, Kate, you knew about this function, right? Why did you say we'd be here for 12 hours without mentioning that you had a chance to open the shutter earlier?
Oh, back then I didn't think I was allowed to explain the mechanism and reason behind the alarm, but I was certain we wouldn't be leaving before the 12 hours were up. When I was still in this room, I noticed the same thing the Ishia family noticed. I didn't have permission to access that command. That meant that we would have to spend the full time here. In case something went wrong, this failsafe was designed. The exit would always open 12 hours after it locked. Obviously, that much time ensured that if a Zin member had gotten trapped, they couldn't escape when the time ran out. How is it possible that you don't have access to it? Can't you fix it?
They do have a left-handed keyboard, you're right.
I'm afraid I wouldn't know where to start. I have no clue what caused it, but if the Ashia family is encountering the same error, it doesn't look like something I could solve.
I just took a mouthful of popcorn, because no women talk for like 10 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Then isn't there a way to take down the shutters from outside?
No. The attack was assumed to come during the night, but it happened this morning instead. I don't know a lot of details about this, but evidently Ashia were going to trap at least one Zin member inside and try to squeeze them in for information over the security room microphone. No one really knows how big Zin is, but the shutters were designed in such a way that in case members came to the rescue of their trapped comrades, they couldn't do anything from the outside. This is why, in much the same way, we can't do anything to break them down without a method that would also collapse the entire building. Excuse me? They might look flimsy, but I guarantee you they're not.
What do you mean? What do you mean it would collapse the entire building? What are you saying? Is the OSHA inspector still in chat? How are you feeling? I'm confused. Pate, if you knew about this, why did you ever leave the security room? Why didn't you use the microphone to talk to the trapped culprit as you'd all agreed?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I did. All of you were unconscious though, so you didn't hear me. I didn't receive any reply, and since the most important cameras had been disabled, I wanted to see for myself what had happened.
Okay,
Alright, that tracks. Alright.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all of this means there's no way out right now at all.
Yes, Ashia informed us of this plan days ago. There were certain Zin would attack, so the police had to be caught up. Since today was the last possible day, we were all anticipating Zin to come during the night. Long before 9, I myself was in the tower, aware that the chances of a theft were incredibly likely. I kept talking to Ashia's staff about what procedure would be if something were to happen.
A chat asked if there's a reason that this lady's portrait doesn't have the smoke and ink stain. She was passed out on the floor, and the smoke was low density, so it was only on the ceiling, so she didn't get smudged. Sure enough, after thinking about it, I recalled having seen him next to the entrance door while we'd been waiting.
I left before the hallway doors opened. We were told something could still happen, and one of us had also been pretty insistent in saying there'd been an attack. That's why we stayed outside, and we were able to restrain everyone who evacuated very quickly. I believe this is the scenario Ishia will be going with. This was an attack by Zen intended to subvert their expectations and target a lot of regular gems instead of the Sekimeiya. Maybe it would have been a success if it hadn't been for the new alarm. The suitcase was noticed right away and all the gems were retrieved. It's possible the alarm went off due to malfunction, which is also preventing them from opening the exit before the maximum time. Right now, all they can do is wait and tell you guys to do the same. They don't believe anything else has happened and will most likely be calling this their victory. It's very likely they intend to compensate the people who got instantly trapped once the time runs out. I should fucking hope so. I'm sorry, I can't be of more help. While some details are still unclear, it all more or less makes sense. Okay, alright.
You don't even need to hope so. They could fucking sue. Imagine the people that are missing their shifts at their jobs and shit. This is crazy lawsuits waiting to happen. This is unlawful detainment. Like they've basically been kidnapped by this like stupid corporation. Like, that's crazy.
It's like Air Canada on purpose.
It's like Air Canada on purpose. It's like flying with Air Canada. 1980s Japan. Ah, shit. All right.
Shit.
Is there anything else you should tell us?
I don't believe so. There's nothing you should worry about besides having to be there for a while. I personally apologize for all the inconvenience, and I'm sure all of you will be indemnified? I don't know that. What does that mean? What does that word mean? Indemnified?
I mean, I think it means that you'll be cleared of crimes.
Indemnified?
Yeah. Does it mean you'll be cleared of crimes or compensated? It's one of those.
Compensate for harm or loss.
Oh, there you go.
Also secure against legal liability for their actions. It's both.
Oh, it's both. Oh, okay, cool.
It's both. What an efficient word. Cool.
Wow.
All right.
Excellent. Nobody wanted to mention that someone among us might not have been, quote, innocently trapped, and instead we stayed silent, thinking about the hours that awaited us. Was that really everything, though? Was it all just a malfunction? Was Zin actually involved? I knew many things didn't quite add up. What the hell happened to Naomi on top of it all? Recently, there had been a similar attack in Yushibana, where smoke had also been released. Assuming that Zin were involved in the attack on the tower, it was a pretty easy leap to assume they'd been behind the other. So what are we gonna do? 12 hours is a lot of time. Can we go to the Sekimeiya again? She loves eggs.
I think you should first reunite with Miss Kabka. After that, make sure not to do anything Ashia might not be happy with, or they could find a way to avoid compensating you.
Suripo forced a smile and was about to put an end to the conversation.
Sai's gonna say something.
Suddenly, out of the 3 computer monitors, the leftmost one went black. What? What just happened to this screen? Sai, who was the one in front of it, was first to react. Let me see. It's possible the computer stopped recognizing the screen. 1 second. Sai's overreaction threw everyone off, including Suripo. That was because we'd only been looking at the middle screen, and the computer was still working. The leftmost screen had been displaying nothing but an empty part of the desktop. Regardless, Sai quickly grabbed the mouse Kate had used earlier and navigated to the screen configuration settings. At least you aren't using some custom operating system. I know what I'm looking for. See, how strange. The left monitor isn't being detected at all.
Does it matter? The computer didn't actually shut down, did it?
Oh no, obviously not. We can still see and hear you. Sorry, I was just confused. I don't know what caused it though. It just stopped detecting it out of the blue.
You'll have time to figure it out. For now, there are better
Suripo never finished that sentence. Before he could, the other 2 screens also went black. What happened now?
It wasn't only the screens this time. The computer seems to have shut down too. How? What the hell?
Shiroya, Arena, and Isla were looking upward. It seemed the 3 computer screens weren't the only ones to have turned off. All the security cameras too? Oh no. The light works, so it can't be a power outage.
Did a cable get disconnected?
Ite crouched under the desk and looked behind the computer.
There's nothing that looks wrong.
He pressed the power button multiple times, but the computer refused to start up.
What the hell just happened?
Was it Naomi?
Naomi?
We were almost done with Suripo, and it was time to look at the recorded footage. If it implicated her, she might be responsible for the computer shutting off.
Is she listening to us?
She's so dead. She's so dead. That girl is so dead.
She's dead. She's super
Kate
dead,
sprinted out of the room and looked at both sides of the hallway. He even peeked at the lobby. While he was out and everyone's focus had diverted to the door, I noticed something behind me. Sai had just taken his arm away from the leftmost monitor. When he noticed I was looking at him, our eyes met. And there was a spark, like one I'd never felt before, and he smirked. Before I could think, noise filled the room again. Kate came back, panting. It seemed the possibility of being spied on in his workroom had really gotten to him. We didn't have to ask to know he'd found nothing.
If this was achieved from outside the room, do you know how it could have been done? No, that should be impossible. If power was cut to the room, how did the monitor go off first?
Yeah,
the
one monitor going off first makes no sense whatsoever.
Is that Sai just fucking with them? Is that why he's smirking? Huh.
I don't know.
As I said earlier, underneath the lobby is the panel that handles the tower's electricity. While it isn't incredibly well protected, it should be impossible to power off the main computer from there.
That sounds very strange. Are you sure it wouldn't be possible?
I've worked here for many years, so yes. Maybe we should go check anyway. No, it's impossible.
I agree. Let me go with you, esteemed visitor. Without waiting for a reply, Sai grabbed me by my shirt and lightly ushered me out of the room.
Ooh.
Hey, wait. He didn't wait.
It's fine. I'll be right back. A changed person.
That must have been enough for Shiroya because she didn't follow us. I did actually want to see the panel, so I let Sai do whatever he wanted with me. It was better not to put up a fight if he gave me the same result either way. We talked about the room before, so we knew how to access it, even though it wasn't marked on the map. Sai started walking without uttering a word, and I followed behind. I wanted to ask what exactly was up with him, but the words didn't leave my mouth.
I'm uncomfy right now. What the hell?
It's your turn to read narration.
Okay. We went past the reception desk. Being behind it was a strange feeling, but I didn't have time to look around. As Katai had said, the door to the mechanical room was unlocked. Past it was a very narrow and dark staircase that made a sharp turn to the right.
How scary. You go first. I can't keep it up.
His nonchalant way of speaking made it clear he wasn't being serious. If it was supposed to be a joke, it didn't seem very appropriate. Nonetheless, I entered the stairwell first. The ceiling became a bit lower, which required me to crouch to advance. What? Shortly, both of us stepped into the mechanical room after opening a smaller second door. The temperature... Is that a light bulb?
It is.
Oh, are we going to find a corpse when the light turns on?
God,
the temperature didn't change, but the light was very dim, much worse in quality than the other ones used throughout the tower. The illumination was worse than the smoke-filled hallways. High up on the wall was the panel Kite described. I had to move aside a low table to walk up to it, but reaching it didn't present a problem. I could easily touch the ceiling with my hand.
They mind their staircase 3 blocks tall, forgetting you need 4 to get smooth descending. Good classic blunder.
I looked around me. Past all the cobwebs, I could see the boiler Kate had mentioned emitting a constant buzzing sound. There were also small, worn-out pieces of furniture littered around, presumably because nothing bigger could fit through the staircase.
It seems he was right. All the switches are on.
Yeah, this probably hasn't been used lately. It's covered in dust.
I agree.
Then why did we come here? The panel was protected by a plastic cover with a key lock, and every switch had a label on it. They were hard to read, but one labeled security room, I'm fine, I can read, I swear, just like all the others, was on.
Can I ask something? Do you believe a word of what Kite has been saying?
What? What do you mean? That took me by surprise. Maybe not so much the fact that he'd been suspecting Kite, but that he'd asked me so suddenly.
I mean what I said. Everything that Kite has said, there's no way you believe it, right? From the beginning, when he found us, when he claimed to have searched the entire floor without finding your group, about having monitored the cameras and having tried to open the exit. Remember what he said? That he hadn't found it appropriate to try to talk to the outside and instead kept looking at the available cameras? You can't seriously tell me you believe that.
I don't know. It's true that I've thought about that some of his claims sounded a bit off, but this might be bringing it a bit too far. I can't definitely doubt what he said, that he panicked and prioritized figuring out what was happening before trying to contact anyone. It's strange that he didn't find us, yeah, but he said he hadn't thoroughly examined the floor. He has been helpful to us and let us know about how to contact the police. I don't think he's as suspicious as you think.
Then I'll put it bluntly. I guarantee you that everything he said has been a lie. Don't trust any of his words.
Oh, looking for it that way. Okay, all right. How can you be sure?
You're free to not believe me. I told you this because I thought you'd realized it earlier.
He smiled the same way as earlier and left the room with a shrug. From his face, all I could make out was that he was trying to have fun, but I couldn't tell if he was just messing with me.
He's flirting.
I went upstairs. Through the door, I saw Sai in hallway B. I wanted to shout at him, but I caught up to him instead.
Oh no. Where's hallway B? Hallway B. The one with the bathrooms.
Yep.
There's hallway C ahead, the one that's clean. Do you feel like investigating the upper floors?
What? Let's go back. He ignored me and kept walking forward. Instead of repeating myself, I felt like being the one to ask something. What do you think happened to Naomi? I couldn't quite grasp Sai's behavior, but he was also trying to piece things together and might have agreed that more than met the eye was going on. He didn't seem unintelligent, and since his approach appeared different from mine, his input might have been useful.
I couldn't tell you for sure. Kite seemed fine looking through the monitors, but it was also not his priority. This probably means that either he doesn't think much of Naomi's disappearance, or that he knew we wouldn't spot her, even if we looked through all the available cameras. Are you sure she really passed out?
I'm almost certain, yes.
Then it's hard to believe she regained consciousness before a person as big as Akaro did. If she really inhaled the smoke and wasn't there by the time the three of you woke up, the easy explanation is that she was moved.
Who would do that though, and why?
How about the only person out of all of us who was conscious at the time?
But why?
Don't ask me. It certainly makes him look obviously suspicious, so if he still did it, he must have had a good reason. Let's check the Sekimeiya. I entered this hallway so they wouldn't see us from the security room.
Why?
Katsuki is suddenly like a 3-year-old. He's like, why?
I know. He turned to the left and opened the event room door. Why else, though? He wanted to see if it was still there.
If it's not here, Naomi took it. It's as simple as that, so I'm only curious.
Sure, go ahead. They put the curtain back?
It'd be pretty interesting if it wasn't here. We would know we hadn't taken it, but the other 5 wouldn't. Not only has this room's camera been blocked off, but now they can't access any. Imagine we tell them the cabinet was empty. They would have 3 suspects. If we look throughout the entire tower and can't find Naomi, do you think they'd suspect us? They would insist it could have only been us, that Naomi was never trapped to begin with, and we would be the only ones to know the truth. How would you suggest we defend ourselves?
I don't know. I'm sure Shiroya would believe me. I honestly doubt they would actually suspect us.
You might be right. What if I claim you took off running and came here? That's why we took so long.
Why the hell are you acting like this?
Don't worry, I wouldn't do that. Let's see. In case it's not here, should we tell them?
Of course.
Why? We would be certain only Naomi or a mysterious 19th person could have taken it, but from their point of view, we would be possible suspects too. If we didn't tell them, we could then force ourselves to split up. Someone would find out that the Sekimeiya was stolen, which would lead to many more possible suspects, and their focus on us would decrease. They'd have no way to know we'd already seen the empty cabinet. It might be unfair for them since we're giving them a bunch of fake suspects, but I'd say it's pretty fair for us since we know we didn't do it, right?
I wasn't sure how to respond to his basic but presumptuous words. Basic? I didn't disagree with him, but it was hard for me to humor his attitude. Although I couldn't easily imagine being suspected, the thought of him falsely accusing me was a bit unnerving.
Sai is the only character I like.
Yep. Yep. Sai didn't make a lot of sense to me unless I assumed that he was just messing around for the sake of messing around. Whatever, let's look first. I walked forward and raised the curtain. Unlike before, very few dust particles fell off, leaving the pile on the floor practically unchanged. Here it is. I want to say something along the lines of, see, you're just being paranoid, but he beat me to it.
Of course it is. After all, if it weren't, it could only have been Naomi, and that'd be too simple. Baldur has threatened to put me in the Sekimeiya display case.
Why? What did you do?
I said I liked Sai.
Oh, okay. Why don't we take the egg right now? Are you sure you wouldn't want to think about the other 5 conspiring together and taking it while we were in the mechanical room? Then they could suspect us while they rub their hands. What exactly is your deal? What were you even doing behind the monitor earlier?
That's what I was talking about. You should think about what I told you.
I could only sigh. That sigh. I lowered the curtain and left the room. When we returned to the security room, everyone but Kate was next to the monitors. He was on the ground, and for looks of it, he hadn't fixed a thing.
You were gone for a while. Yeah, we took the time to go to the bathroom.
I had no reason not to call him out, but that might have pointlessly complicated things or ended up being exactly what he wanted. His approach to our situation was an enigma. Joe was looking right at me, so I decided to ignore Sai's lie and moved on. How are things going?
Kate has been trying to power the computer back on. It doesn't seem like he's achieving much, though. And yeah, someone in chat said, didn't they already say the Sekimeiya is a publicity stunt? They did, but it's like unclear whether the thing itself is actually valuable. Like, I guess it is if they're going to look at it. I don't know why they would use a real valuable thing as bait instead of just a decoy. I don't know.
He appears to be messing with some cables under the table. After a few seconds, he got out and stood up. Let's try again. Press the power button, but nothing happens. Damn it, I don't know what the problem is. Oh, I assume all the power switches were on, correct? Yes. He sighed and kneeled down once again. I didn't know what he was trying, but so far it hadn't given him any results. I really kept looking at him even though there wasn't much to observe, as Kate's body covered all that he was doing. Sai's claim played on my mind.
It already doesn't make sense. There's actual civilians at a bait exhibition, so who knows? What if everybody but us is paid actors? What if we're paid actors? What if everybody here is paid actors? My God.
I guarantee you that everything he said has been a lie. Don't trust any of his words. Why had Sai sounded so sure, and how was Kate trying to fix the issue? If Kate was part of that group, Zin, and had been shamelessly working under the pretense of security, their massive success rate could begin to be explained. Under the table, he kept sighing methodically while making noise with the cables. I can't figure out what the problem is. It could be the electricity stopped coming from an outlet. I've been trying many different things, but under the table is just an incomprehensible mess of cables, and I'm not sure the problem is here. Under the table. Some seconds after nobody had answered, he repeated the cycle of trying to power on the computer, kneeling down again, messing with further with the cables, and standing back up. I apologize, but I don't seem able to fix this. I don't know what the cause was, nor what's remaining a problem. All I could do here has proven useless.
We understand. The way it happened was very strange.
Do you not have any idea what could have gone wrong? Everything just turned off instantly, and this is the office where you work. These two are just kind of pointless at this point, huh? Like, they barely talk. I just said it. I can't begin to think of anything. However, it wasn't all instant, was it? The monitor was the first one to stop functioning. Yeah, that's so weird.
It is really weird,
He was talking, of course, about the leftmost computer monitor. He approached it and examined it carefully. Everything's fine. It pains me to say it, but I'm completely lost. Had Sai created the situation? The smirk he'd given me alongside what he'd said seemed to indicate that he'd at least had something to do with it.
Hey, Kate, are you done with the cables? Since you last were down there, you haven't tried to power on the computer. Why not?
These two look like the same person at different stages of their life, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I did this a few times when you two were gone, but nothing worked. This last time, it didn't actually change anything important, so it hardly mattered. While he said that, he approached the computer. With a single finger, he pressed the power button.
It's so coming on now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye, the middle screen lit up, and a sound that indicated the computer had begun to run echoed throughout the narrow room. Sai met Kate's eyes quietly, and Isla was the first to break the silence.
It's finally working, right? Great.
Yes, it seems so.
Do you think you were the one to fix it?
There's no way. This is as strange as it powering off. I really don't even think I ended up changing anything since the last time I tried it.
How bizarre.
Yes, it very much is.
Do you think this was also done from outside the room?
I can't tell. It's possible the delivery of electricity was the problem and that it just fixed itself.
Wouldn't the system have powered on automatically if that had happened?
Possibly. What could Sai have just done to this computer?
Good question.
What?
Magnets.
Kate sat back on his chair and grabbed the mouse once the computer had finished booting up. After bringing the keyboard closer to him, he logged onto his user account.
What happened to the cameras, though?
Even though the computer had been brought back online, a dozen powered-off screens still remained on the wall. This computer is connected to the entire tower. That includes the computers upstairs and the security system. I must first initiate the program that will display the footage up there in real time. Upon saying that, he double-clicked on the security camera logo, and a program with a messy interface covered the entire screen. This was running earlier as well, but it was minimized. The cameras won't be shown without it open. After looking at the taskbar icon, I did recognize it from earlier, and it was the same one he'd used to change the cameras being displayed. Kate introduced gibberish as the username and a password that was shown encrypted for us. After he pressed the enter key, access was granted. Alright, this button will start the system. Below the text, logged in as Kate Kyuji, was a button that read initialize camera monitoring, which Kate quickly clicked on. However, upon doing so, an error window showed up. The text couldn't detect video footage was written on it. What? What the hell does this mean? I've never seen this error message.
This seems kind of self-detect. Is it not letting you display the footage?
Yes, usually after pressing this button, the screens would turn on and automatically display the live feed the cameras are recording.
What if you check the saved footage?
Yes, that's what I was going to try. The cursor, controlled by Kate, hovered over and clicked on the archive footage button. Once again, though, an error window followed. An obnoxious sound appeared. Wait. Obnoxious sound appeared. Okay, containing the text, no archive footage detected, no camera system detected. Uh-oh. Okay, what the hell is this? This has never happened before.
It's outright saying the camera system isn't being detected.
Sai made his way out of the room and returned before anyone had time to be confused.
I looked at one of the hallway's security cameras. It's showing a tiny green light. That means it's currently functioning and recording, right?
Yes, if the green light is there, it means the camera is recording.
So the problem here is that we can't currently access the live footage or look at the recordings. The cameras still work.
Yes, I think so. For some reason, the computer won't connect to the system. So where's it recording?
Looking at the recorded footage so easily sounded too good to be true anyway.
I've been doubting we would find anything in the recording since the relevant cameras had been disabled by the smoke, but it was true that it could have given us crucial information, especially regarding Naomi.
Well, let's talk to the police again. They might know what caused this.
You're right, we should still be able to do that. Should we? Give me a second. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Kate did everything he'd done the last time. When the small window appeared, he inputted a password and pressed the enter key. Access denied appeared in red letters below the login information. What? Access denied? What the fuck does it mean by that? Whoa, first F-bomb? That's what I was about to
What, of
say.
the last 10 minutes?
I know I'm repeating myself, but this has never happened before. Did someone swear in this game already? Second F-bomb? Is it? Okay. I'll try again. He re-entered the login information 4 times, but that same message kept appearing.
Mod search fuck.
Oh, it is.
I was laughing because do you not remember saying fuck like 4 times in a row earlier? It was Akaro's like single personality trait is that he said fuck like 4 times. I'm pretty sure all 7 of those are him. Yeah.
Okay, I've lost it.
It just comes naturally to you.
I don't understand this.
Is that saying that your authority has been revoked?
Ooh, what a way of saying that. It must, but why? Why would that happen now?
It's not like we can contact the outside to ask. I know you said earlier that the alarm cut off access to the internet, but everything's out of order anyway, so there's no harm in checking.
Yes, you're right. It might not be disabled. Kitei double-clicked on the browser icon, and we were met with a white screen containing the text, "There is no internet connection." To further make sure, he typed a common URL, but the same screen appeared, and then he just started playing T-Rex Runner.
I guess we won't be that lucky.
I'm sorry, I don't think I can do anything about this.
It's okay. It's not your fault. If we can't access the security systems or connect to the outside, our priority should be to investigate this whole building. Naomi's still a mystery.
That's true. We should try to find her and gather any useful information we can. But how could this have happened? I don't understand it. The timing was too coincidental. Did Ashia remotely power off the computer to revoke my access? All I could do with it was talk to them. Maybe the problem with the security system is a side effect of whatever happened. I will stay here for a bit while you go. I have a couple more things to do.
Such as?
Well, I'd like to investigate more about what caused the shutdown. The security system not being detected is very strange, and in addition, it seems my authority might have been revoked. You must understand how odd of a situation this is for me. I'd like to see if I can figure something out.
4 hours later. Oh, I left caps lock on. My bad.
However, there are a few things I'll work on for sure. This computer is still connected to the rest of the tower, so I can undo a few smaller effects of the alarm. I could try to give power back to the elevator and some lights. Wait, what? Those don't you really require any kind of login. I'll catch up with you all at once I'm done. What the
I don't know. I see. That sounds fair to me. We'll go then. Should we really be splitting up? It'd be better if we moved in groups at least.
There's no real point to any of you staying here. I'm the only person here who knows how to access these parts of the system, and it would be better to have the elevator available than not. Go on ahead. Okay, he wants to be alone. Interesting.
Alright, good luck. It's weird to think that Naomi is out there and hasn't tried to reach us, so I'm a bit worried. Right, let's go with them, Isla.
Everybody started to look a bit more tense in the hallway. Maybe because we hadn't yet seen anything beyond the first door, or maybe because the reality of being trapped was creeping in. I looked at the cameras and noticed that the tiny green recording light could only be noticed on some of them, as the dried smoke fully covered a good number. We walked together a few steps until we all stopped silently. Our task was to investigate a huge building we had never entered before, only to track down someone who could have been hiding with malicious intent. Isla started talking casually to Irina about their daily life. I didn't disturb them, figuring it was better if Isla remained as calm as possible. Yeah, shouldn't Irina and Isla stay in the security room with the security officer? I leaned against the wall next to Shiroya. I didn't think she wanted to talk, so I kept quiet. The handrail made the position uncomfortable, but I tried not to mind it. Instead, I focused on thinking. What exactly had happened in the security room? What had Sai done? I looked at him. He wore a silent, carefree expression, appearing almost on a different plane from the rest of us. Oh, new art. Earlier, when I looked at him after Kitei rushed out of the room, he took his hand out from behind the leftmost monitor. What exactly did I see? Let me take a different approach. Assuming the monitor powering off was his doing, what could the reason be? What did he do right after the monitor stopped working? He tried to see what had happened, but if he'd been the one to cause it, that couldn't have been his goal. After considering a couple possibilities, an idea came to me. If I was right, what he told me later made sense. What do you think happened? No idea? Do you have any idea what happened?
I think that he purposely did it so that he could get MC alone so that he could cast suspicion on Kitei.
I guarantee you that everything he said has been a lie. Don't trust any of his words. At that point, with what he did to the monitor, he was probably confirming his suspicion. He was right. A lot of things Kitei had been saying had been quite questionable at best, but now I think about it, there was one major thing that I had overlooked. Kitei grabbed the doorknob, and upon turning it, he tried to push the door forward. However, it didn't budge. Oh right, I locked it earlier. Let me see. Bet Sai noticed this. Kate didn't think the door would be locked. I mean, you can forget. He was quick to make up a lie. He said that since it is an important room, he thought it appropriate to lock it before going outside to inspect things. He even claimed to have done it because the room contained the single way to communicate with the outside, when later he showed us you could only enable it with a password that only the security staff knew. It's probably not that he thought the door would be open, but he didn't realize it wouldn't be. After all, we know what actually locked it: the alarm. Siropo explained to us the entire function and mechanism behind the alarm. The person inside the security room would relay information between the people that got trapped and the outside. The door of the security room would close alongside the exit, and it would be impossible to open it with anything but the right key. Meaning that if I'm right, from the time I heard the alarm to the time we entered the security room, no one was inside it. In other words, Sumari, Kate had never been inside the security room. This must have been a huge lie, and most likely something Sai assumed after noticing Kate's actions before he opened the door, and when the alarm's functions were explained. A lot of things Kate said involved him being inside the security room during the time the smoke was released. Seeing the smoke appearing out of nowhere through the cameras, looking at all the available ones, and not seeing anyone, not having tried to contact the outside, not being allowed to input his command to open up the exit. All those claims are impossible if I assume that he was never in the security room during that period of time. Even seeing the smoke through the cameras and then exiting the room before the alarm went off would be far from believable. This would have both stained his clothes and knocked him out. Okay, was the computer already logged in when he started the communication to the outside? So it's like now it's not that everything has changed. It's just that he doesn't have the password to begin with. Is that what it is? Or
I don't know, but the other thing is, like, none of these things actually mean that any of these people are guilty of a crime. Like, it's possible that he was just, like, being a shitter who's incompetent at his job, because he kind of seems incompetent. So he could just be making it up to, like, cover for his ass. You know? Like, same with Sai.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible that Sai unplugged that monitor just to get MC alone to, like, try to form an alliance, but that doesn't mean that Sai is like guilty of anything. It just means that, like, he wanted to be able to talk where the security guard couldn't see it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like all these people are sus.
Why would Sai want to align with the MC? Maybe he sees, like, some amount of, like, authority in him, or just
Those were the main
protag
character.
powers.
Yeah, protag powers. Yeah. I don't know.
She questions something important if he truly was never in the room. Kate's clothes weren't stained. However, he knew about the smoke. Did Arena's group tell him and he acted as if he'd seen it through the cameras? Did he see it from far away? Or did he have another way to know about it without having personally seen it? To maintain his claim of having seen the smoke appearing through the cameras, it's possible he knew it would appear and quickly left the security room with a mask and spare clothes right before the alarm sounded. Like this, he would have been able to lie about having been in the security room the whole time. After all, it would have been too risky for him to leave before the smoke was released. If this is what he did, he must have used the time we were unconscious to do something. What's for certain is that aside from having seen the smoke through the cameras, if he wasn't in the room by the time the alarm went off, all his other claims become impossible. We're such contrarians, by the way. The whole time that he was saying stuff, we were like, he's so sus. And now that the story is saying he's sus, we're like, well, he might not be. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think I'm just trained from visual novels that when they suggest that someone's the culprit, I'm like, no, well, they can't be now. You know.
But he also might not have been on this floor during the attack. If he showed up later, that could explain why he found Arena's group before ours. They told him what had happened, and he made up a lie accordingly. This would mean that everything he's told us has been a fabrication. Once I assume Kate was never in the room, the exact reason for that lie is not too important. What it means is that he's untrustworthy and that he has an ulterior motive. And it is very possible his authority as a security member has been revoked. The timing was too precise to have been a coincidence. It could also be that the Shia and the police figured something out about him and removed his privilege as a security member. However, they know that doing so would also prevent us from contacting them again, so they must have had a very good reason. Then, what Sai did to confirm his theory, he pulled it off shamelessly in front of everybody. I'm sure he could have done it later alone, but it's possible he feared Kate would have prevented it with a new lie. Right before Sai started, he asked Siropo, is there anything else you should tell us? He wanted to check something as soon as possible before Kate could interfere again. Once Superior said that he told us everything we need to know, Sai unplugged the cord behind the leftmost monitor, the one he was next to. That was the only done to have a justification for checking out the screen settings. He quickly grabbed the mouse and opened them for the desktop, and then he just hit shutdown, Lamayo? I see. How strange. The left monitor isn't being detected at all. However, that's not what Sai was actually looking at. When we all entered the security room, Kate quickly went to use the computer. Paying no mind to everyone's silence, Kate made his way to the chair and sat down. When he moved the mouse, the computer exited suspended state and reactivated the 3 monitors above it, showing us what the last person to use it had been doing. I bet Sai's goal was actually to look at how long it take for the computer to enter the suspended state, which is information found in the same setting screen. That's because Kate said he used it while he'd been in the room. Oh. Shortly after that, the alarm went off, so I knew I was already trapped. During that time, until I exited, I stayed looking at the cameras. I also tried to use the computer to look up information about what had happened, but the alarms even shut down my internet connection. He'd also said that he tried to input the command to unlock the exit. We know the alarm went off at approximately 9:05, thanks to the time the computer displayed and that had been suspended when we entered the room. If, for example, the screen settings showed that an hour of inactivity had been needed to enter that state, Sai could have confirmed that Kate had not been there at all. And apparently it did confirm it. That's why he was sure Kate had been lying. That also explains his subsequent action. When I saw Sai taking his arm out from behind the leftmost monitor, he just plugged the cord back in. Maybe he put it to sleep before he walked away. Despite sounding risky, he'd nothing to lose. If he'd waited longer, Kate could have prevented it. And Sai's timing had been great. Right after that, all the machines had stopped working. That had probably not been his doing, even though Kate had implied otherwise. However, it wasn't all instant, was it? The monitor was the first one to stop functioning. He said as if both things had been connected, but I don't think that was right. Sai unplugged the first monitor, but the rest must have had a different cause. So Sai didn't turn the computers off. That's fortuitous, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but it is also very fortuitous. Also, chat said, what if he was in there sleeping on the job and lied to sound professional? That's like kind of what I think he was being incompetent.
One thing is for sure, Sai has confirmed his theory and is now certain Kate has fed us lie after lie. I should probably think the same. Is this it? Is this it then? Do I have to admit that Kate is a blatant liar with an ulterior motive? I thought about everything that had happened up until then and shortly noticed another inconsistency Kate had presented very early on, the one that had later been contradicted by himself. Which one? Did all of you hear the alarm that played throughout the building? After I heard it, I saw all the smoke. He claimed to have heard the alarm, then seen the smoke. However, just after that, he said the smoke had disabled the cameras instantly. Given the alarm went off some seconds after the smoke was released, he could only have seen the smoke after hearing the alarm if he had been outside the security room. I mean, if he wasn't looking at the screens, he hears the alarm and that I don't know. It's a bit strange that he said it was still correct in saying that the smoke had disabled the cameras.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we don't need to believe everything the MC is saying here or think that it's dependent on sound logic.
Yeah. I mean, this is assuming that people are always like speaking completely perfectly and are always doing. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you planned his phrasing well enough to make it sound as if he'd been inside the room to the point of realizing that the cameras would have become useless, it follows he wouldn't have mentioned the huge inconsistency of having seen the smoke after hearing the alarm. If there's a reason for this, it must be that without looking at the monitors, he knew the smoke would have left them useless. However, he must not have thought about it too hard, or else he would have never contradicted himself so blatantly. Wouldn't the smoke have also maybe been seen in another camera that wasn't in the affected area but could still see into that area? Because there's hallway C wasn't smoked, right? And there must be cameras in hallway C that might be able to see the smoke in hallway B. Is that how it is?
I don't think you could see. I don't think you could see, maybe if it was here, but there were no camera,
if you go to the bathrooms at the top right with your mouse right now, because my mouse can't go there. If there was a camera right there, and it was pointed down,
looking down. I see.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been hit by the smoke, but it still would have seen the smoke fill up hallway B, right?
Yeah.
Is there there must be overlap with the cameras like that? I think.
I guess that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one simple way this could have happened. If he designed the plan, he would have known the effects of the smoke, but would not have thought of what they would have entailed if he'd truly been in the security room. I didn't want to believe that, not because I trusted a stranger by default, but because I wasn't sure if I was the only one deluding myself by believing it. I went back to my previous thought. Could Kate have still been inside the security room until he left it before the alarm had played? That would have made him a bit more trustworthy, even if it wasn't much. The problem was, once again, his unstained clothes. Even if he changed clothes, his hair and face would have been noticeably stained. Technically, there was a way to get around that. I knew hallway B had been hit by the smoke by the point I noticed the lack of light under the door. However, I couldn't be sure the same thing could be said of hallway A. The third of the last section had been inundated. We'd only seen it filled with smoke after waking up. Delayed smoke? Even though realistically, if he had left because he saw the smoke through the cameras, he would have mentioned that hallway A hadn't yet been stained by that point. The only confirmed fact is that he wasn't in the room from the time the alarm went off to the point we entered it. It could be that he saw the smoke disabling the cameras, left the room, and then the alarm locked it. If this happened, the smoke in hallway A must have been released afterward. Finally, if I'm only pointlessly trying to reduce the number of lies Kate has been spitting, it could be that he was in the room but never touched the computer. Then the suspended timer wouldn't mean anything, but lying about having used it seems pointless. Is there a way to go against Sai's confirmed theory? I suppose only one. If the computer's current time is incorrect, the time shown in the screen settings can be refuted. Oh. Yeah. Considering that when we talked to Superior, at no point was the actual time mentioned. If, when we checked the time, it wasn't actually 9:41, it could all hold up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If the computer was an hour behind, we could have been asleep for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Earlier, I was going to say, what if they had been asleep for like a full 24 hours and didn't even know that they had looped around to a whole other day? But there's no way you would feel that when you woke up, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna, or maybe they woke up, have already done some shit, and then took an amnesia thing and all went back to sleep again. Maybe it's been weeks. If the computer was an hour behind and the real time was 10:45, we would have been unconscious for longer than we thought, and everything could fit. Kate could have been in the security room, and enough time for the suspended state to be reached could have passed. However, the single last possibility was denied by the only person who didn't fall unconscious, Kate himself. Yes, this matches with the amount of time I stayed here after I saw the smoke. Maybe he's just bad at time, Lamayo. It seemed it was unquestionable. For one reason or another, Kate had lied about what he'd been doing during the incident. He hadn't been where he should have been, and he had continuously claimed to do things that wouldn't have been possible. Before we'd all entered the security room, he hadn't been fast enough to think that the alarm would have locked the door. He had simply tried to open it manually, as he hadn't locked it himself. What is Kate after? Why did he lie so much? After all, he was the one who told us about the way to communicate with the outside. All of his actions have been strange. Hang on, I haven't considered this, but what if he isn't who he claimed to be?
Can't believe it took this yapper this long to get here.
I know. Could it be that he isn't actually part of the security staff? He refused to explain anything because it would have been confidential, but then Suripo didn't have an issue doing so. What if he simply didn't know anything? The only thing he said was that we'd been locked inside the building for 12 hours and that he knew of a way to communicate with the outside. His clothes weren't stained, but he knew about the smoke. He had a safe place he should have stayed in, but he wasn't in it. He had the security room key, but he didn't think the door would be locked. He had investigated this floor, but he hadn't looked in the event room.
And he had a bullshit-ass reason for not making this shit shorter than 12 hours.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
If this was all his plan, it could have been that he borrowed the name Kate, an actual security staff member, not only his name, but also his clothes and room. Then, the clothes of Kate we know had been wearing, stained by the smoke, would have been disposed of. Suripo admitted that a security staff member hadn't evacuated the tower, and he was familiar with the name Kate Kyuiji, but this could simply mean that the real Kate Kyuiji is still trapped with us. Maybe his body was hidden a spot out of the camera's reach. Oh no. Suripo talked to Kate, but he was a simple police officer and no way to confirm that the voice belonged to the actual staff member. On top of that, he never actually saw it. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Yeah.
He's stupid. Do you want me to take over? That was a lot of fucking reading.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay. Since I couldn't arrive at a conclusion, hello, chinchillas, I lowered my head after having been lost in thought for a while. Shiroya was standing near me, looking almost as detached as I was sure I did.
Shiroya?
Hmm?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I am. I rubbed at my face with one hand and pulled her aside, speaking in a hushed tone.
Shiroya, it's fine. We're fine. Naomi's fine too. You can't let this stuff get to you.
She's so dead.
She's so dead.
I'm not.
Don't get sucked into some depressive loop, okay? I'm here. We're going to find her. He is so protective of her.
He is. Good night, Weeby.
I mean it.
Alright, I'm sorry. It was just the camera footage is...
The police will recover it.
You're right. Somewhat satisfied.
Oh, sorry.
I patted her shoulder and stepped back into the middle of the hallway. Close by, Isla, who had finished her talk with her mother, was walking to the event room. We were supposed to investigate the building, but we had all silently agreed to wait a bit out of either anxiety or hesitation. Where are you going? Oh, they told me the button to look at her was H, but that's not working, so I'm sorry. Where are you going? I want to see it again. Without further explanation, she quickly made her way into the room. Irina followed behind her. The rest of us did the same, since staying by ourselves didn't seem very useful. The previous 2 weeks had been difficult for Shiroya and me. I knew the cheerful Shiroya I was useful. I knew the cheerful Shiroya I was fond of would take a longer time to come back, but all things considered, both of us were handling the situation pretty well. I was just concerned about pushing her too far. Did they have a friend die? They're talking like a friend died.
Yeah.
Maybe the egg helps you speak to the dead, and they came to talk to their dead friend.
Or it brings them back to life, yeah. It's a special egg, yeah.
Special egg. Isla was in front of the cabinet. I entered the room just as she was about to uncover the curtain, and Hikaru inside came silently after me. Look how pretty it is. Now that the light has gotten a bit better, I like it even more. I agree, it's got a very elegant look. Hikaru and Sai walked in further. However, once Hikaru stopped, Sai did not. He placed himself in front of the cabinet and stared at the Sekimeiya. In the same way, everybody else just stared at him while he thought to himself. Then, with the same neutral expression, he scrolled the glass down. What are you doing?
Disappeared.
Instead of responding, he reached to touch the Sekimeiya. Or that's what I first thought. Instead, he grabbed it and took it out of the cabinet.
Hey, what's up with you? Didn't Kate say not to take it out?
I guess he did. However, right now, he's in the security room doing God knows what.
What are you trying to do?
Isla extended her arm and let out a charming, "Can I have it?" Yeah, of course, here. I looked at the camera in the upper right corner and saw the flickering green light. After handing Ashia's precious gem to the 9-year-old, Sai answered Hikaru. I was just considering that what Kate said earlier might have been false, just in case he's not been the most sincere person.
What if they flushed it down the toilet? Oh, they can get it out of there. What part of it?
I'm talking about when he said that the Sekimeiya has to be kept in a cold place. I'm just opening the possibility of him having said it to scare us from taking it out. Why would he lie like that? And really, why else would the cabinet have this cold function, other than because it's beneficial for the Sekimeiya? Why would he lie? I just said it, so that we keep it in the cabinet. The cold function could very well be beneficial, but he made it sound essential. And look. Sai pointed at Isla, who looked to be enjoying her time despite the serious situation. She was clearly delighted at being able to hold the Sekimeiya, something she would never have been able to do under normal circumstances. Right now, the Sekimeiya looks perfectly fine to me, yet it's not inside a cabinet that provides it a very low temperature. Strange, isn't it?
You don't know how the temperature might damage it. It could slowly crack it, which would be very bad. Its strongest point is how smooth it is, right, Isla?
Isla nodded strongly. She definitely agreed, as she wouldn't stop fiddling with it. You're right. I was just testing what would happen. What if the Sekimeiya had melted after getting it out? Do you know the consequences that would follow? And Kate would have been telling the truth. Right now, the Sekimeiya looks perfectly normal to me, and it's not like Kate told us exactly what a higher temperature would do. He was just told a low one was needed. Don't worry, though. If it had melted, we all would have just said he'd forgotten to warn us, and they would have busted his ass.
I don't think that's something Kate made up. Naomi had also said something similar. Did she?
Oh, shit.
Oh, no!
Did she? Actually, I don't know. As if he'd been summoned, Kate appeared behind the open door. Isla, plenty aware of impending trouble, instinctively hid the Sekimeiya behind her back, but she wasn't fast enough.
What are you guys doing here? Why is the Sekimeiya out of the cabinet?
Rather, what were you doing in the security room? Did you find a way to restore the security system or contact the outside again?
No, nothing worked. I did undo some effects of the alarm, though. The elevator is now functioning and proper illumination has been restored.
Sounds great.
What do you mean, sounds great? Why did you get the Sekimeiya out? I told you how important it is not to remove it from its cabinet.
Kate, who looked and probably was rightfully angry, walked forward and forcefully took the Sekimeiya out of Isla's hands. She gave him a blank, depressing look in response. Important? Why? What's the higher temperature going to do? It looks perfectly fine to me. Don't tell me. It's a real egg, right? It must be kept cold so it doesn't hatch. He knows!
Yeah! Listen, kid, I know you might find this a boring situation. You're trying to stay entertained. However, you should understand how serious this is. This is worth a lot of money to the people who own this building, okay? And we have to think about them first and foremost.
It seems Kate had correctly assumed it was Sai's idea.
don't know what the effects will be. I don't know if they'll happen immediately. But I know one thing. I know that my superiors told me that no matter the circumstances, the Sekimeiya could never be taken out of this cabinet. And that while they were saying it, their eyes were as serious as they could have been. The cameras here are disabled, so I'm sure you think you can do as you please without facing consequences. For your own good, or for our entire good, rather, do not think of doing this again.
Didn't they just say that the light flickered on the camera? I mean, I guess they said that he means that it's not connecting to the computer, but still.
How did they find something in the mountains that needs to stay refrigerated?
Well, I mean, stuff that's like buried underground, it's like super temperature controlled underground. So
But like that,
it's
would
not
it be
like that
that
unlikely.
cold?
It was like snowy
guess-
mountains, right?
Oh, at least I'm okay. All right, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. There was snow on the mountains. I don't remember whether they said. Hold on. Search for. Yeah, so it's snowy outside. I don't know. Yeah, it's December. It's snowy. I don't know what that means for the thingy though. Mountains are where snow levels are at. That's true. Thank you, Top Lolly. Rodney. Okay. Anyway, Kate placed the Sekimeiya back in the cabinet, shut the glass in the curtain, and looked into Sai's eyes as he finished. Sai kept staring back unfazed, but his expression had slightly changed. If I had to guess what he was thinking, it was probably something along the lines of, "You're one hell of an actor." However, to me, it didn't look like Kate was lying. I didn't rule it out, but I could believe he was very worried the orders he'd been given wouldn't be followed, foreseeing the punishment he'd be dealt by the Ashia family. Yeah, sure.
Or it's Zin that told him it can't go out of the cabinet because they also know it needs to stay cold. I don't know why you don't be able to seem to be able to believe me. I can't tell you everything, but if it's going to make you feel better, I could tell you all that I know about the Sekimeiya. Maybe I can earn your trust like this.
Ooh, the emotional music.
Holy shit, this is gonna be good.
I'm calling right now, based on nothing but vibes, that Sai is a member of Zin, but is not the primary perpetrator of whatever crime we're about to see soon. I'm calling it.
He does have like kind of villain vibes, but also he reminds me of Kokichi, that kind of archetype from Danganronpa V3.
I've
that sort
never,
of thing.
I don't know anything about Danganronpa, but I'm gonna trust you there. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
All right.
How? Wow. Wow.
He's too cute to be evil. Those things are very far from mutually exclusive. He didn't
Usually
only.
the cute ones are evil.
Yeah, exactly. He is hot enough to be considered morally gray. That's correct. Ooh, wait, this is a bop. Okay. He didn't only look at Sai, but also at the rest of us. Suddenly, he seemed very serious about proving his sincerity. Perhaps he felt that everybody had been suspecting him in some way, because he's sus as fuck.
Again, I was told about this very briefly, and only to have the needed context as part of the security staff. I can't elaborate much on it, but given all that Surupo said, it'd probably be fine if I tell you the basic outline I know.
Instead of saying anything, everybody stayed silent, intrigued by whatever Kate could have to say.
As you all already know, the Sekimeiya was no more than bait for Zin. After the last time the tower was attacked on the 24th of November, Ashia began to look for something they could use. Yushibana is now full of people who dedicate their lives to gemstone location and extraction. The number of them increased exponentially when the tower's opening informed people of the valuable gems in the nearby mountains. For many people, going and finding these all around the mountains became a successful gamble. The Sekimeiya was found by a single person who did just that on the 27th of November. So it's a real thing. What are these window placement? What the fuck is this? Another common practice upon finding a rare or valuable gem is informing the Ashia family with the hopes that they'll be interested in it. For this reason, we were the first ones to be informed of the Sekimeiya. It worked perfectly for Ashia, as it was described as very unique. Regardless of its actual value, it did look special, so it was enough to work as the bait they needed. After paying the original finder for the Sekimeiya and their silence, they purposefully touted the Sekimeiya's value as hard as they could. The first mention of the Sekimeiya by that name was made on the 29th, as you probably know. Ashia let everyone hear that they were in possession of something incredibly rare, and that it'd be shown today on the 15th of December. Every night until today, we were expecting Zin's attack. Everyone was led to think Ashia had the rarest find in a while, so, as Shapiro said earlier, regardless of its actual initial worth, after all the publicity, the Sekimeiya was incredibly valuable for Zin. We sold many tickets for today's event. You all saw how far the line of people extended in the lobby. Upon realizing Zin could pass up on this bait, Ashia still went with the second option, which was following with what they'd said and letting the Sekimeiya they praised nonstop be seen. So it's real and fake. Okay. Naomi was instructed into spitting out a bunch of made-up facts about it. Oh,
Mm.
okay, and about its worth during her guided visit to try to justify all the buildup. To add interaction and lengthen the visit time, the visitors were going to touch its surface, but only inside the cabinet.
Oh, to add interaction and lengthen the time. That's why. I see.
To tell you guys the truth, Zin did actually attempt to steal the Sekimeiya once. Surupo had no reason to inform you of this, but almost as soon as its existence was announced, Zin made a move for it. As you can see, their plan ended in failure. We even came close to catching someone from Zen for the first time, but they were able to escape. This was almost Ashia's success, but this information was never published, even though it would have been seen as Zin's first failure. The reason was that they wanted to keep it up the charade and put the plan in motion to catch them for real. The Sekimeiya wasn't in this building yet, so the mechanism we had designed wasn't activated. Additionally, even though Zin were the ones to try to steal it, Ashia had no way to prove it. Since the circumstances were unusual and everyone knew they wanted to defeat Zin, people could have thought they made it all up, as no members had been caught. I'm starting to think Zin doesn't even exist, to be honest. That's all I can say about this. Now the cold temperature rule was not something Ashia realized, but something the original finder instructed. They said that according to the time they spent with it indoors, to preserve and to make sure the Sekimeiya wasn't damaged, it had to always be kept at a cold temperature. And they just went along with it. The fact that they knew that putting it in at a high temperature would damage it implies they did so at one point and noticed the damaging effects. However, as you said, Sai, after you took it out for a bit, it still seemed to be fine. They probably did the same and found out that leaving it for longer could be harmful. Ashia did not particularly care, so they naturally accepted and followed the single rule without much of a concern. This cabinet, alongside others that also possessed temperature functions, already existed, so it was a convenient place to keep it after stylizing it a little. Since it was found pretty high up on the mountains behind the tower, the temperature there was already very low. Okay, there we go. At their request, the location where it was found was revealed to Ashia.
I like that I said I'd take narrator duties over from you shortly before you began a 10-minute exposition through a character.
Yep.
I was trying to help.
I love it. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. A vast mountain range surrounds Yushibana, which I'm sure you see daily. On Air Rune, a mountain close to this building, there is a little upward path that was much more visible a few years ago. That part of the range has almost been abandoned because when the reason to go to the mountain switched to gemstone extraction, it was determined that not many were to be found on Air Rune. This is a lot of information. Eventually, up in the mountain is a small field that's pretty well hidden. It's not easy to spot, but you have to deviate onto a smaller path. All I was told was that it's a fairly hidden place, and it's just full of fucking Sekimeiyas.
Okay, there we go.
There, this was found, growing.
Kite pointed at the cabinet. That was all interesting and consistent with what we knew, but my mind had gone someplace else.
Here we go.
It's Sai. As I expected when I looked at Shiroya, she was already looking at me. It seemed she'd thought the same thing. Bizarre as it sounded, the location Kite had just described matched perfectly with the place where we used to play as kids.
Aw, for fuck's sake.
Past that grassy terrain, there used to be a cabin she and I would frequently visit.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay.
It was the same mountain, the same narrow path, and maybe the same plain and grassy field that would now be covered by snow. It seemed pointless to think much of it. We hadn't been there for more than a decade, but back in the day, it was the perfect hidden place for us to go spend our time. Not once had we seen anyone else there, but eventually going to the mountains just to play was seen as rude by the people who tried to make a daily living on them. Admittedly, we also didn't want to have anything to do with the strangers on the mountain, which decreased the frequency of our visits until we finally stopped going altogether. The final visit was something we hadn't even realized was final. Would you like to explain to chat why you're saying fuck's sake?
Well, because it just so happens that where the Sekimeiya was found is where we used to go and hang out when we were kids, and we have a history with this place. Is gonna be all this bullshit connections now. I don't know. I'm just bracing for bullshit. That's all. Fucking coincidence. It's probably not coincidence, actually. They probably have seen it before, and they came here to look at it because they remember seeing this when they were kids. That's probably what's going on.
Connections mentioned, true.
Did I succeed connections today?
You did, yeah, I believe,
yeah. So it's probably that they're just not talking and not communicating about what they know about the Sekimeiya and everything like that. Yeah.
Well, great news. Shiroya says, do you remember?
Yeah, of course. I'm not sure the place is the same, but thinking back on those times makes me happy.
You're right. We used to have a lot of fun there. Reminiscing evoked a very strange feeling within me. When the weather was ideal, we would spend entire afternoons in our unreachable hidden place, playing all sorts of different games. We brought things from home every day we went to make it ours. Even though if you were to look at Shiroya, you might not have believed it, her usual self was a very cheerful one, so remembering some of those early memories was bittersweet. On the other hand, after I looked at her, she was smiling and wore an expression that had lately disappeared from her face. The memories we shared from that time were very special. They totally had like a third friend who died that used to play there with them. For sure.
For sure. For sure.
No matter what I'd tried to say, I hadn't been able to cheer her up. That might have been the first time in 2 weeks she'd clearly reacted positively to anything, and I probably knew why. Those memories were so old that Mia had not yet appeared in our lives. Let's go! That was why Shiroya was able to think about them without sparking the negative reactions that obfuscated everything else.
Maybe we should go back one day and see what it looks like now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Even though her smile had slightly faded, she seemed to genuinely mean that. It was reassuring to hear, and it made me trust that everything would eventually get better.
Sleth says Sekimeiya.
No!
No! Soul in the egg. No!
The more the story goes on, the more I realized how completely superfluous the theorizing about someone having already stolen the Sekimeiya that's still here was for real! Unless the real one did get stolen and this is just a recreation and the real one has magical powers and the person who stole it is somewhere hiding in this place to use its magical powers and it can't get warm because if it gets warm then the magical powers activate. Okay, anyway. Kite had kept talking while I'd been digging up old memories, but he'd only gone over his previous points.
This is all I know. It's not much, but hopefully you can at least believe me.
You sure are good at coming up with stories to cover your ass. It's honestly impressive. Sai said that, but it didn't look like he disbelieved Kite's explanation. He was most likely referring to everything else he'd ever said ever, with the sole intention to provoke him.
If that didn't please you, there's not much else I can say. This was probably more than I'm allowed to, actually.
I did notice they put the curtain back down. There was a whole animation for it, actually. Ah, I see. Even though I could have seen Sai's playful behavior as intriguing earlier. Intriguing. It had become off-putting. After shifting my thoughts to some of my childhood memories, the thought of getting out of the tower was much more appealing than being alone with him in a dark room again. Finding out who was responsible for the attack was a goal, but as long as the police had some way to recover the camera footage, they could handle that. They could have already captured the person responsible for all we knew. Ashia's compensation was certainly a nice thought to keep in mind too. It was more important to keep an eye out for anyone doing anything suspicious and nail them once we got out than constantly and baselessly accuse anyone in the vicinity like Sai seemed to want to.
Anyway, weren't you all supposed to be investigating the building? I think it's time for that. We keep repeating this, but Naomi's disappearance gets weirder by the second. You're not in charge?
Yeah, we should go. I agree. Let's look through this floor first. It's where she was when the smoke appeared, and it has plenty of disabled cameras. We made our way to Hallway A. Finally starting to inspect the huge building was an imposing task. A lot of time had already passed, so I had no idea what to think of Naomi's disappearance. She was either incapable of reaching us or didn't want to. How do we do it? Do we split up? Here, I learned how to do this for you. There she is.
Aw, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. No, let's make the situation clear first. Funny things can happen later. Let's enter every room in this hallway and then move on to the other one. After we're done with this floor, we'll move up one at a time.
Yeah, let's begin there.
Irina looked at the crystal room in front of the security room. It was the one labeled A1 on the map. The crystal room. A1.
Crystal.
It's the one closest to the lobby.
What Final Fantasy sounds are these?
Given the floor's layout, if there was someone who wanted to avoid being seen, as long as we didn't split up, they could easily achieve that. There were 3 different ways to make it from one hallway to the other, so we would never be able to rule out a sneaky moving culprit. Taking that same possibility in mind, though, the thought of splitting up was distressing. It was better to investigate together and hope that wouldn't happen. We were in front of the room we'd start with. Kite opened it, and yet again, I felt the same recurring sensation of stepping into a different world. A clean floor, walls, and ceiling awaited us. Just like in the room I'd looked at, there were many cabinets, presumably displaying different kinds of valuable gemstones. Why are they covered? As Isla said, the interior of the cabinets wasn't visible. Velvet curtains, as pretty as the Sekimeiya's has once been, were neatly placed over all of them.
Oh yes, this is something that we do every morning, except on Sundays, when the tower is closed. Well, at 9, the floor opens to the public. It isn't until 9:10 that the showcase cabinets are uncovered. This is purely done for dramatic effect and honestly to give the visitors the impression that they're about to witness something very valuable.
Oh, can I?
Yeah, of course. Let me raise them up for you.
In the same manner that Kate might have seen it done daily through the cameras, he carefully rolled up every curtain, letting us see what they were hiding. As amazed as a little girl trapped in a building could be, Isla lit up while Kate uncovered the next mysterious interior. Sai looked at it with a similar face, even though I couldn't help but question it. Cabinets in those rooms were different from the Sekimeiyas. They were lower to the ground, and on top of them was a screen of glass that sheltered the gemstones. Wow, look at this black one, Mom. Isn't it pretty? I love it. Yes, it's one of my favorites so far. I wish I could wear it as a necklace. We were all glad Irina was with us and treated Isla as if they were in a normal visit, letting her feel comfortable. Shortly, Kate finished with every cabinet. They had all contained gemstones of different shapes and tones. Some also had a brief explanation below them, detailing where they'd been found, along with the name of their finder. Most of them assured they'd once been in the mountains I was used to seeing in the background of Yushibana. By the way, if I were Naomi and I were like trapped under something that fell somewhere and I were like innocent and I found out that they decided to fucking open the museum before coming to find me, I would be so fucking mad. I would be really fucking mad. Despite the events and my lack of interest, I spent some time looking at each one, immersing myself in them without noticing it. I didn't think it was the best way to spend our time, but everyone seemed to be doing the same. Do you like this one? Shiroya was pointing at a tiny light blue jewel with round white stains on its smooth surface. She said it because I'd been looking at it for a while, and she knew that shade of blue was my favorite color.
Oh, like her hair. Oh, I really do. I wouldn't mind going to the mountains someday if I could manage to find one like this.
I'm sure it wouldn't be easy, but it'd be worth the effort.
Yeah.
After having talked about going back to our personal playground, I started to really look forward to the time when we'd visit it again, spending a day trying to find a gem as pretty as that one. What color are Sai's eyes? Great question. Can I see it again, Tanya? The fuck is Tanya? Huh?
Yeah,
are you talking to me? Yeah, can I see your pendant? A bit confused, Shiroya took it out. I knew it. It's even prettier than everything here. What's with that name, though? Tanya? That's you. It's for Tanzanite. Oh, I see. I'll admit I'm a bit fascinated by these myself. Sai's voice sounded from behind us as he peeked over my shoulder. I came here of my own volition, after all. We shouldn't spend so much time doing this in the next room, though. We have other priorities.
Yeah, sorry, Isla, but once we're done, we'll have more than enough time to revisit every room. 11 hours of it.
You'll still let me see them, though, right?
Yeah, we'll briefly look over them.
We moved on to the next room, which looked almost identical. The same procedure was repeated. Kate uncovered every cabinet, and Isla had a few seconds to appreciate all their contents. After we finished with it, Akaro spoke.
Do we really have to look inside at the inside of every cabinet? It's only slowing us down. What if there's a body inside?
Yes, it doesn't take up a lot of time, and remember what Suripo said. He mentioned some gems on this floor had been stolen. We need to find that room and see if there's something to notice.
Oh yeah, that's true. He did say it happened in one of the farthest rooms. You're right. I've forgotten about that, but it still sounds very weird to me. What did these gems have to do with anything? It sounded like Ashia had already assumed they were the goal of the attack, which feels very off considering they don't know how they were brought out.
You mean to say they were probably something to divert their attention, right?
I agree. If the plan is over or ended in failure, it could be that some kind of trick was used to get them outside, make them believe they were the goal, and with a lowered guard, steal the actual target, the Sekimeiya. Yeah, something like that, even though I can't really visualize how the plan worked.
Like boys crew. Girl crew is looking at the rocks, and boy crew is theorizing. Before you assume that, there's something to think about which goes against it.
What would that be?
Well, the 2 vertical hallways in the event room were put out of commission with the smoke. If the gems were the goal, it could be assumed that the event room was, for some reason, only attacked because it's the only way to go from the middle of one hallway to the other. I do mean Grug Squad. Yeah, we're Grug Squad right now. However, that has a flaw. Even though a function of the smoke was certainly to disable the security cameras, the room those gems were stolen from wasn't ever subjected to the smoke, according to what Kate told us. This is very strange, don't you think? It outright implies that the room's security camera was never a factor they took into consideration. So if that were the case, why did they disable all the others? What I mean to say is that the robbery of those gems could have been executed without the need of releasing the smoke in the event room, and that the substance to cover the lenses of the security cameras wouldn't have been needed. If being spotted by the security cameras in the room of the robbery wasn't an issue, it means the only other goal of the smoke was to provide a clear route to the outside. The event room in the opposite hallway wouldn't have been needed, and disabling the cameras would have definitely been pointless. This immediately indicates that the gems were never the goal, which breaks the effect.
Maybe you're right. If they were the goal, only one hallway in that very room would have been attacked.
And you also can't assume the smoke was released to make everyone nearby fall unconscious, because not all the rooms where people could have been were attacked.
And yet, they were brought outside in a suitcase before the exit closed.
Yeah, only for the person to then be arrested immediately. I can't quite figure out what the whole deal is here. More so given the Sekimeiya is still with us.
Hold on 1 second. How was Arena and Sai and Isla even subjected to the smoke? If it was only the hallways and the Sekimeiya room, why were they in the hallway?
Were they waiting in line?
No, but they would wait in the lobby, wouldn't they? Because Naomi takes you to the Sekimeiya room. Were they like... has that been said?
I have no idea. That's
weird, right? Why would they even why would they even be in one of those hallways or in
It has
or
been
in
said.
the It has been said? So they were like, well, Naomi brought us there to look at it. Who was bringing them? Also Naomi?
Let's see.
Someone just told them to walk forward?
Oh, they said they were told to advance?
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's weird, right? Like,
they said they were not able to evacuate. I don't know what that means. The fuck do I go back to where I was now? Help! How do I go back to the... Okay.
Alright, we did it.
Okay. We did it. Okay. The people outside... Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Where were we? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The people outside think the gems were the goal and that the robbery was a failure. However, part of that relies on them not knowing the exact rooms that were attacked by the smoke. I'm sure more people will conclude what I'm saying once they enter the tower. If the culprit intended to pass those gems as a fake goal, this plan is lacking. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that that was an opportunistic robbery, maybe, or something. Like, I don't think it had anything to do with anything. But I don't know, maybe I'm dumb. There's no way it ends with someone sneaking the Sekimeiya out as soon as the exit opens, right? That would be very stupid. Not to mention that stealing the gems would be rendered useless, since Ashia would quickly notice that the Sekimeiya has been stolen too. Then the gems would ultimately return to Ashia, and the person who had them would be arrested. I hadn't taken those gemstones into consideration for any of my thoughts, but he was right.
Hey, Kate, I know you said this earlier, but are you sure that the exit was sealed immediately after the alarm went off? While it is the first time the alarm has been activated, it's how it was programmed to work. Anything else would be pointless, really. Could it have been another malfunction? I was just thinking that perhaps Naomi brought the gems out, or someone held the door open, like, because it doesn't close all the way if someone's there. That's what they said, right? So yeah.
Naomi, but that should be impossible, right? Not if that malfunction actually occurred. When Suripa mentioned the person who brought them outside, he only said it had been an individual. It could have been a woman, but I think he would have said it when we mentioned Naomi was still with us. If the alarm's effects had been delayed, Suripa would have brought it up, or someone from the outside would have entered. It is true, though, that Naomi, the person who should be here but isn't and knows the layout of the tower well, is a good candidate to have brought those gems out, acting out this ridiculous role of being purposely arrested with a conspicuous suitcase.
If this is what happened, targeting the event room too would make sense even if the goal was elsewhere. It was Naomi's location and she would have needed a way to escape.
You're right. I hadn't thought of this, but I'm not convinced. Targeting both hallways still wouldn't make much sense, and most importantly, it implies her plan only worked because the alarm's effect got delayed. It would have been no malfunction.
Yeah. Also, we still don't know what actually triggered the alarm, and while I could be wrong, it really seemed to me like Naomi did fall unconscious in our room.
Hmm. Remember what Siripo said? If anyone was in front of the shutter as it closed, it would have stopped. It's possible it was delayed, which gave Naomi enough time to leave, even though she was in the event room when the alarm played.
That's true, but Siripo would have told us as well. Wait, no, I don't think that could have happened.
Why not?
When I heard the alarm, there was another sound too, much fainter. I just realized that must have been the shutter closing, as it was rough and came from the lobby. Oh, that was the other
that's what that sound was. Oh, you were right.
That means the effect couldn't have been delayed, but it ended with a louder sound, which must have been it hitting the floor. I'm pretty sure it went all the way without stopping.
If that's true, it confirms Naomi's still here.
Yeah.
Is this a key? I saw Shiroya staring at the floor, confused as to where to direct her gaze. Oh, you're right. What's this doing here? When we went quiet, the two people who hadn't participated in the conversation spoke. They were a bit ahead of us, so we walked to them. After focusing on the point where they were staring, we saw what Isla had found. Next to the right wall was a small, rusty key. Isla kneeled to pick it up. Once in her hand, she showed it to us. Was this on the floor? Yeah, I just saw it. There's no way we missed it until now, right? The color is close to the floors and the lighting is bad. I'd say we did, since it took me a few seconds to see it. Really? It was right next to the event room. That's not a key, it's just a lever? Oh, okay, good to know.
More importantly, what's it for? Do you recognize it, Kate? No, I don't think I've seen this key before.
Kate grabbed it to give it a closer look. It appeared very old and rusty. Not the kind of key that would be used in a modern building.
It's impossible this belongs here. I know it's an old building and there are keys I don't possess, but it must be for something else. It's for the furniture room. Keys are not prohibited items in this tower. It's possible someone dropped it and didn't realize it.
How would you not notice it? If you drop it here, the noise would alert you. For sure, which means that whoever dropped it knew they did and didn't pick it back up. Unless it fell out of Naomi's unconscious pocket.
Yeah.
It would have been a bit ridiculous to think that it had been left purposely to indirectly pass it on to someone or something of the sort. Given what we knew had happened so far, Sai's words made a lot of sense. Get what I mean, right? This key probably belonged to the culprit. As they were running against a timer that would trap them, this key was dropped. Naturally, they didn't waste time stopping to retrieve it.
It could be a pretty important key if it's one the culprit was holding as they were committing a crime. I'll keep it safe and give it to the police as soon as I can.
Fuck off, we're not giving you the fucking key. Get out of here. That's a good idea. No, it's not.
You might be jumping to conclusions again, though. It could belong to an innocent person who rushed to escape from the tower.
You think so? I'm not sure that's possible. I've gone over this. Why would an innocent person ever rush to escape? One reason would be if they saw smoke appearing out of nowhere. However, they would have fallen unconscious if they ran through this hallway. The other reason would be if they heard an unknown alarm, but this can also be ruled out because the alarm blocked off the exit. Naturally, this key doesn't belong to any of us, right? Nobody answered. Oop, double click. He was saying that no innocent person aware of danger could have escaped through the hallway. If the key didn't belong to the culprit, it had to belong to someone who'd also gotten trapped and we hadn't seen. Even Naomi didn't make sense as a candidate. I'd been with her up until the alarm had sounded. If someone had fallen unconscious there, they could have dropped the key and failed to realize it upon waking up. Perhaps even the sound of the drop had been obfuscated by the alarm. Of course, though, that was very unlikely. I doubt this was here before the attack. There was a janitor cleaning the floor in the lobby, so I'm sure these hallways were cleaned today, too. On the surface, that appeared to be a very solid argument, but there was a way around it, and it involved something I'd thought before. We didn't know for a fact that the smoke in hallway A had been released at the same time as in the other two places. There was no reason to believe it hadn't been, but it would have also let one of Kate's claims be the truth. One part of me wanted to directly ask Kate, but I held off. If someone had heard yells coming from the lobby, or seen smoke coming through the door of the event room, they might have rushed out without stopping to retrieve their key. I recalled that while we'd been about to fall unconscious, I'd heard nothing but silence. I saw Isla in front of the next door. Even though it had been her discovery, she didn't seem very interested. The private revelations of the cabinet's contents were probably very exciting for her instead. She's 9!
Also, I'm getting concerned that they still haven't brought up the fact that they've known the smoke before now. Still, they're not saying it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like they heard it used somewhere. Like they've smelled it. They've hit with it before. It's a familiar smell to them.
They said
Yeah.
not again.
Yeah. Let's continue for now. If this was important for the culprit, it's likely they'll try to get it back. So I'll make sure to keep it safe until we get out.
This is a good place to stop. We accepted that and moved on. Okay.
Like at the end of this like room or literally
Yeah,
right
like
now?
what? Like literally right now? What do you mean? This or next music change? You could go to next music change.
I say next music change. Yeah. Do you want to go back to reading narration? By the way, it's been a lot of reading for you right now.
You can read.
Okay. We accepted that and moved on. The next room was no different from the previous. Kate went ahead and began to make sure nothing had been stolen from its cabinets. Sai approached me while I was separated from the others. Anticipating his reason, I was first to speak. Yo. You still doubt Kate? I think he did a good job of proving his sincerity.
Oh, of course I still do. I'll agree that he's pretty good at lying. You already realized he was never in the security room, right? Why are you defending him?
I looked at Kate. He was putting up with Isla and acting interested in the gems he'd presumably seen hundreds of times. Are you certain he wasn't?
He couldn't have been there after the alarm went off. I checked the time needed for the computer to suspend and that confirmed it. The only other possibility is that he was there and lied about using the computer, but that doesn't make it any better.
Have you considered that the computer time might not have been accurate?
What is written on Sai's shirt? It says Wood Carbuncle, which is apparently a reference to Remember 11, I think, which is the Uchikoshi vehicle. The computer time.
Yeah, if it was wrong, Kate could have had the time to be there without lying.
To then lie about how much time he spent outside it.
Yeah, I know. Maybe you're right, and there's no other explanation.
I have considered the computer time being wrong, and not only that.
Sai raised his sleeve. Under it, there was a digital wristwatch. What? Yo.
I always wear this. It doesn't seem like there are wall clocks anywhere, so the time displayed on the computer is the only source we have available. Besides my wristwatch, that is. My time and the computer's are the same.
What if it was changed while you were unconscious? You don't know. I see.
Yeah.
So that can't be it either. Or it really has been 24 hours and they just woke up at the exact time.
And also the police officer fell asleep for 24 hours.
The police officer didn't clarify. Who knows how long they've been waiting outside? Yeah.
Well, as I said, I didn't consider that the computer time might have been wrong, but rather that someone went way further than that.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, that should be the only way out Kate has.
Yes, if someone messed with my wristwatch while I was unconscious, they could have made me back up the computer's time. That's going too far, though. After all, one would only do this to frame Kate into not having been in the room. But it's too ridiculous to consider it seriously. They'd need to know that Kate would say everything he said, only to turn around and contradict it with the computer's suspended state, risking the possibility of nobody noticing it. And not only that, but it's also something that only works with the people who got trapped. This wouldn't mean anything if we brought it up outside, so imagining that someone would set it up isn't reasonable. And Kate, who didn't fall unconscious, would have called out the wrong time. Since he didn't do it, if it truly was wrong, he must have been the one to modify it. Then, as an effect, his truthful claims would have sounded impossible. That's still ridiculous, and it doesn't clear his name at all. He also let us talk to Suripo, who could have mentioned the time at any moment.
But why would Kate lie about having been in the security room? Do you think he's actually responsible?
Or heavily involved in some way? There's no way he's not hiding anything or looking to gain something.
So you don't believe his story about how the Sekimeiya was found? You were accusing him of lying about that too.
Oh no, I do believe everything he said there. It just strengthened his motive further.
Huh?
I still think the Sekimeiya has to be the core of all this. That has to be right. Now, don't you find it strange that a simple security member would know all that? He said it in a desperate time because he wanted to earn our trust, which is why he relied on factual truth to lessen our suspicion. But what I think he did was change his own perspective. I'm telling you this in case you think I'm missing something, but I think all he did was join his version with what Suripo told us to form an accurate story and pass it off as something Ashia told him.
I don't follow.
I'm saying he could be the original finder of the Sekimeiya. Get the fuck out.
What?
What the fuck are you talking about? He didn't know about what Suripo told us before he did, otherwise he would have said it all to earn our trust. Once he knew about Suripo's factual story, he joined his own knowledge with it to make us believe he truly works in the tower. Sorry, so Sai's idea is that this guy, knocked out someone, took the security guard uniform, and then pretended to be a security guard instead of being the original person who found the Sekimeiya? Why is he here? What, did he regret giving it over to them and decide that he wants to keep it for himself? What are you fucking cooking? The way he detailed some things was very questionable. He knew the exact location. Yeah, but changing the time on his watch is too far. Oh my god. The way he detailed some things was very questionable. He knew the exact location where the Sekimeiya was found, and everything he told us was information the original finder would have known after hearing Suripo's story.
Man, Sai's the yapper of this game, huh? Holy shit. That might be true, but it sounds like a pretty big assumption. And didn't he say the finder was already paid?
I'll tell you one of the theories I formed. It's all speculation, yes, but I think it could make sense given whoever's behind this already went pretty far with all the smoke. I haven't told you this since it might not mean anything. You and I both showed up early and were at the front of the line for a while, in front of the hallway B door.
Yes, we didn't have a way to check the time, but we definitely were there for a few hours. I mean, apparently Sai had a way to check the time.
Mm-hmm. All right, so at approximately 8 o'clock, I saw Kate in the lobby. The reason why I started questioning him so quickly was because when I first saw him, he was wearing normal clothes. Why didn't you fucking tell us this sooner? Of course, back then, I didn't think anything of it. I don't know what he did either. I just saw him for a few seconds, and if anything, I'm certain he was never part of the line. Considering everything, I think this is one of the ways everything could have played out. Take whatever you want from it. The person claiming to be Kate found the Sekimeiya a couple of weeks ago. He contacted the Ashia family, and given their interest, they bought Kate's discovery. At no point did Kate expect they'd set up so much advertisement for his own find. It's possible Ashia said things that were wrong only to draw people in, and perhaps not being credited as the finder bothered him. As a motive, the father of the egg. As a motive, I'll admit it's pretty plain, but at some point, Kate could have realized the value of what he'd found and had been paid for had increased exponentially. That's why he designed a plan to retrieve something he thought he'd been cheated out of. Okay, this might be a dumb thing to ask, but does the MC have literally any reason to try and solve this mystery? Or is this a we're stuck in here anyway so kind of thing? He seems like he just compulsively needs to solve things, but also there was a weird mystery event several weeks ago of maybe one of their friends dying that seems to have put him in a weird headspace as far as I can.
Excuse me, it's called being a man. It's just all the men are there. Yeah, this is what we do. Yeah. Why do you think the Grug Squad is just constantly theorizing and shit? Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Reminds you of someone? The scale of the attack seems too big to have been designed by a normal person who found a rare gemstone in a mountain, but many things line up nicely. At 8 o'clock on the day the Sekimeiya was going to be shown to the public, he entered the tower. This is why it happened during daylight. Zin is, for once, not behind it. They had tried to steal the Sekimeiya once and failed. I don't know how his plan worked, so I can't tell if the alarm was an intended factor of it. But regardless of that, this person went to meet with the actual Kate Kuiji. I don't know how, since the doors hadn't opened to the public yet, but he wasn't in the lobby shortly after I saw him. By speaking to Kate, he could have learned a lot about the alarm's existence and the method to contact the outside. The way he learned that information isn't important. What matters is that he put on Kate's clothes, then he proceeded to hide Kate somewhere out of the camera's reach. He could have done this any number of ways, but Kate was charged with keeping track of the security cameras, so obviously nobody could have seen him carrying off a body if that body was the one supposed to be seeing it. Along with the clothes, he also took the security room key. Then, he released the smoke in the two hallways and event room through some method I'm unaware of. It's likely he knew he'd get trapped by doing so. My god, dude. He acted as if he'd found us and played the role of a security member to justify his presence in the tower. Yeah, Method X. Yep. Naomi. It's possible he hid her body while she was unconscious. He'd be the one to have a reason because Naomi would have revealed that he doesn't work in the tower. By saying everything was confidential, he managed to avoid explaining anything he didn't know. He lied about having been in the security room since instead he'd been carrying out this plan of his. This is why he knew things only a person inside the room with all the monitors would have known without actually having been there. Suripo said it clearly. The security staff, upon hearing the alarm, would stay in the room and relay information through the installed microphone. But Kate told us that he left it because he didn't know about that before talking to Suripo. He said he used the microphone while we were unconscious, but I'm sure he was lying. I don't know why he let us talk to the outside, but it's possible he had something to gain from that. Maybe he wanted everyone outside to think that Kate Kuiji is really in the tower, and that everything here is going well. Maybe he wanted to make sure the bait gemstones worked and tricked Ashia. I don't know how all of this works yet. As I said earlier, that part of the plan seems to be very poorly constructed. It almost feels unrelated to what he did, but that can't be it. Anyway, it all comes down to he had no way to get the Sekimeiya out without spending 12 hours here, so he's intentionally spending 12 hours here. I don't know how this plan ends. I have no idea how he intends to get the Sekimeiya. Get this boy a drink of water. Holy shit, I'm taking one.
Yeah, I know, right? Like I wanted to relieve you of some reading, and then it's just nonstop yapping.
I have no idea how he intends to get the Sekimeiya out once the exit opens, but consider the following. If he manages to do it, nobody will miss him. None of us will actually know who he was. I'm only speculating that he was the original finder of the Sekimeiya to give an easy answer to the questionable knowledge he's had since the start. Oh my god, I thought it was it. Once he makes it out, only the Sekimeiya will be missing. Kite Kuiji will still be here since he's where the person talking to Isla right now hid him. This ghost of a person will have escaped with the real target. After saying it all out loud, I know it sounds pretty absurd, but whatever his plan is, it has to be far from over. There are a lot of things that don't make sense, and somehow the Sekimeiya is still in its cabinet as if nothing happened. Also, and one more thing. We only think that what we saw is the Sekimeiya because Kate told us so. The plan could already be at a higher stage. The real Sekimeiya could have been replaced while we were asleep. There could be another reason why Naomi's presence had to be taken care of, as she would expose that illusion.
Rap god.
I'm done. What do you think? Do you agree with anything?
Maybe it's like an ice replica of the Sekimeiya, and that's why it needs to stay cold. It's gonna melt if it's out there. All right, I don't think much of that made sense, to be honest, because like he
no, it didn't.
wasn't. Yeah, like I don't know. I was looking at the floor. I've been listening to everything expressionlessly. Kite remained engaged with Isla while her mother looked on from behind. Akaro and Shiroya were leaning against the wall, waiting to move on. Before I responded, we all walked to the next room, A4. That's it? He doesn't even respond?
That's it.
I waited for Kite and Isla to begin uncovering the cabinets before resuming the conversation with Sai. Oh my fucking god! Sai, I don't think I can directly object to anything you said. Admittedly, I did think Sai's theory was ridiculous. It didn't have to be wrong, but I had come to a similar idea myself. But some of his assumptions were a bit of a reach. It was Sai's way to enjoy the incident, though, and I cared about it as well. Just having some fun.
Boulder's blog has the single word dumbass next to the protagonist line.
There was no way it had been an accident. Many things indicated that nothing had happened coincidentally. The day, the smoke locations, the alarm, the recurring Zen events, Naomi.
Sorry, I'm laughing at coughing Psy versus Hydrogen Battler.
Therefore, before anything else, there are two options to choose from. The plan failed because of the new alarm, or the plan hasn't ended yet. If whatever this plan is hasn't ended, it's almost certain that a culprit must be here with us. Who would that be, and what do they intend to do next?
Find out next week.
Yeah, there weren't that many possibilities.
Oh no, now you have to yell.
Everything but points to Kite, and it's not just the one way to construct it. If he's really a security member, he probably would have had an easy time setting this up. If he's not, Sai's theory is valid too. He's definitely the most suspicious person here. Unless I choose to doubt Sai, it's almost a guarantee that Kite lied about having to be in the security room during the attack. There could have been many reasons behind the lie, though. If Kite is actually innocent, a similar plan could be worked around anyone who got trapped. Of course, I will rule myself and Shiroya out. We've come here innocently. Yeah, I never expected anything like this to happen. Shiroya and I have spent our lives together, and I know she'd never think of doing such a thing, and not even with some crazy motive against the Ashira family she dislikes. Interesting. I myself don't suffer from memory loss or split personalities.
Good to know. Good to know. Good to know.
I have a particular interest in ruining my life after failing a robbery attempt. Wait, what? Where's this coming from? Akaro was the last person in our group. Out of us 7, I feel he's the easiest person to suspect after Kite. He claimed not to care much about today's event, but he was here from the very beginning. Earlier, his behavior was clearly off, but it's gotten better since we woke up. It could be that he's letting the time pass so his plan can conclude. Since he stands out from the rest of us, though, he's an easy target to blame for a plan Sai and I have concocted. The same could be said for Arena and Isla, even though it sounds less likely. It's too naive to rule them out because of Isla's age, though as a well-thought-out plan, it could take advantage of that to lower our guard. I'm reminded, every time Isla's on the screen, I'm reminded of a message Balder typed in chat like 2 hours ago, which was like Isla, voice deepens. All right, you figured it out, Fukete, it was me. I'm the Sekimeiya thief. Out of the 6 of us that were waiting for the event, only they have early arrival justified. Isla's the only one who seemed to care about the event, but I can only truly rule out Shiroa and myself. And Sai, I don't believe he's the culprit, and if he's even crazier than he seems, he could have designed the whole thing and then messed with me for entertainment, maybe even to divert my suspicion and prevent my interference. He could be trying to manipulate me into thinking whatever is convenient for him. I don't think that's likely, though. Similarly, he might have determined I'm not a likely suspect. There are 2 more options, Naomi and an unknown person, person X. Oh, she's back! If Naomi wants to let the 12 hours run out to execute the last part of her plan, then not showing herself to us is probably a good idea. She's been hidden from the very beginning and will spend all the remaining time unspotted, able to move by herself whenever she needs to. There's gotta be a good hiding spot somewhere in this huge building. I don't know why, but the spoiler I saw in the trailer earlier just hit me out of nowhere just now. Should I say it? Should I say it fucking at the end of the stream?
No, because there's people in chat who haven't read it and are reading along.
No, really?
Yeah, you'll do a spoiler for other people.
It was in the Steam fucking trailer though, and it's a wild thing to say. Why did you watch the trailer? It was just auto playing while I was on the page, and then it just happened. I want to hear it. Okay,
Cap says say it, so.
I'm gonna say it. If you don't want to hear it, just mute the stream. But also, it's gonna say, okay. At one point in the trailer, someone said, like, "Did I just teleport?" What? Yeah. So I don't know what the fuck is going on.
They teleport now?
They teleport now? You said Naomi as the culprit puts some meaning behind the alarm's trigger. Surupo said that the only way to activate it was by breaking open the Sekimeiya cabinet, and when I heard the alarm, Naomi was the one next to it. She silently broke it in a way that she knew would work. She could have covertly trapped us. Then, when we looked at the cabinet, we failed to recognize what had triggered the mechanism. Naomi must have avoided falling unconscious and made sure her trick wouldn't be noticed. Maybe she just fell and then crawled out so the smoke wouldn't be around her. Why would she do this? Could it be that she made it seem as if something else triggered the alarm to make it look like everything was a malfunction? She could have had something to gain. The fact that the alarm went off right after Naomi unlocked the cabinet with her key also leads me to think that the source of the alarm had to be something else. However, this could have been done purposely to make the 3 of us eventually say that by the time the alarm had gone off, there'd been no reason to force the cabinet open. After all, there'd been no way Naomi could have known I'd stay conscious enough for enough time to hear the alarm. Then it could have been ruled out as a malfunction, which could have allowed other things to also appear as malfunctions. But if Naomi is innocent, is there more than one option behind her disappearance? Unless she woke up ahead of time and saw the culprit, the only person that could have had a clear motive would have been Kate. She could have been still be trapped and walking around, but I'm not sure why she wouldn't have shown herself already if she has nothing to do with the attack. Is it actually possible Naomi is currently outside the tower? That would mean that the alarm had a delayed effect and that Naomi's not innocent after all. I'm pretty sure what I heard in the event room was the shutter, but I can't be totally certain. Well, they're really heavy shutters. Maybe the shutter from somewhere else in the building. The only way she could be outside is if Naomi is a culprit. Otherwise, surely Surupo would have said that she had made it out safely when we brought up her name. The only way this wouldn't have happened is if Naomi was the individual with the suitcase whose identity was kept a secret. Nah, they still would have said it. Come on. The unknown person option was basically the same, but better. After all, with Naomi, we know the identity of the culprit by the end. However, if an unknown person has stayed with us and somehow plans to sneak out with the Sekimeiya when the time comes, we'll have no way to know who they were. The lobby doesn't have security cameras. When everyone evacuated, someone hid behind the reception desk or entered the staircase of the mechanical room. Once the smoke faded, they hid in a better place, maybe after moving Naomi's body. Maybe they were in one of the rooms in the hallway, and that's why they made sure we couldn't look at the recorded footage. Once this is all listed out, there are a few extra options, like 2 people working together. For example, if Naomi and Kate were working together, one would cover what doesn't make sense if the other person is working alone. The 2 staff members could have easily designed this eternal attack thanks to the knowledge they possess. Kate made us think the Sekimeiya we saw was the real deal. Now Naomi can do as she pleases since she'll be constantly covered by Kate, who will guide all of us as the most knowledgeable person. Why say there's no security cameras when we can't even see the footage? Are we going to eventually see the footage? Perhaps that's unlikely since he had no problem staying behind in the security room while we went to investigate. I'm sure there are many theories I could construct, but it would all be pointless. Everything would still be guesswork. Oh god. Surprisingly, the conclusion I drew was that if the plan was still being carried out, Sai's theory was close to what I believed to be likely. We had to know what triggered the alarm. It would clear up multiple doubts and remove possibilities such as the culprit having already escaped. Maybe what you said is the most likely possibility. A lot of things point to Kitei being suspicious, but he knew about the alarm from the start. That could mean he's the most likely person to be carrying out a plan that involves waiting for the alarm's timer.
But we just said he would have only learned about it in the lobby. What are you cooking here? Yes, I agree. Either him or Naomi, but with the scenario I constructed, Naomi's already taken care of. Most things are, actually. I don't know how the smoke was released, what triggered the alarm, and how Kitei plans to disappear with the Sekimeiya. It's also good to note that regardless of the method, a member of security staff like him could easily design a way to release the smoke. It'd be wise to keep track of him at all times. He stayed alone earlier, and in the security room of all places. I'm very curious to know how he intends to make this plan work. He'll probably make sure that we don't come across Naomi or the body of the real Kitei, if I'm also right about that.
Wait, so how is he like simultaneously impersonating a security officer, but also is a security officer? He's fucking Schrodinger's security officer.
I don't know.
Like, he knows the security system in order to like put the smoke down, but also he's an impersonator who wouldn't have known anything about the security.
Also, like, what did he do? What did he do? Interrogate that guy at gunpoint to get him to say his password to various systems to him? Like, how did he log in successfully that one time? Like, what are we doing?
The Sekimeiya lets you get the truth out of people.
Oh, okay, sure, perfect. Yeah, good.
Yeah, yeah.
A bit, aren't you? Aren't you looking forward to knowing which theory ends up being the correct one? Or maybe to find out that we were both incorrect? What if this is all bigger than we think, or just a coincidental accident? I want to make a lot of theories and then have the best one turn out to be right. That would be great, especially if I got to explain them all to you in great detail for pages and pages. For example, think about this. Everything we've thought about has been in part based on the call with Suripo. However, our main assumption right now is that Kitei is the culprit. You brought up a good point earlier. Why did Kitei say that we could communicate with the outside? He's not going to say that the police officer is in on it, right? You're right.
I'm bracing for that the whole conversation was pre-recorded and we weren't even talking to someone.
Oh my God. You're right. If he's a security member while also being the culprit, if he hadn't mentioned it, he would have become incredibly suspicious after 12 hours passed. But if I'm right and he doesn't work here, it wasn't very smart of him to have brought it up voluntarily.
You're saying that what Shuropos told us could have been planned?
Exactly. He spoke very highly of Zen. What if he was speaking very highly of himself? The group he works for, alongside Kitei. He was dressed as a policeman and was in a car next to the tower, ignored by everyone around it. If there weren't tricks in the video, he must have been a real policeman. Wouldn't things make sense if Zin was involved with the police? That program hidden deep within the computer's folders could have been another factor of this plan designed by Zin. They knew Ashia were working on a mechanism to defeat them, so they created this plan to keep their superiority afloat, assuming part of what he told us was the truth. As soon as he began to explain stuff, my suspicions about Kitei immediately lessened. After all, what that policeman was saying matched up well with the information Kitei had given us. Now, if they were working together, made-up details would appear like the absolute truth, and they'd make all of Kitei's subsequent claims sound authentic. Suripo mainly spoke to Kitei. If they were following a script, they could confuse us greatly. Suripo is the only reliable source we think we have. And after he was done, the power conveniently went out. Not only that, but Kitei was unable to contact him again. How believable is that, really? Did the Ashia family really revoke his authority, knowing they'd leave us incommunicado for 12 hours? So is Sai still the best character? Sai is really serving. He's reminding me of the time I went on a date with a guy, and the guy was like, I bet you can't guess what my weird, unpredictable hobby is. And I was like, dude, you are for sure a conspiracy theorist. And he was like, he went silent for like 5 seconds, and he was like, well, listen, but like you don't understand about the temperature of jet fuel and what's required to melt steel beams. And then he actually went on to argue with me about 9/11 conspiracy theories. I did not win because he had to leave to go record his Gorillas podcast. I hope that guy somehow hears this.
Gorillas podcast?
Yes, he had a podcast about gorillas. This is burned into my brain.
Hold on. And I don't know which answer's better. The band or the animal?
The band! And then when I texted him later to say thanks for hanging out, he was like, yeah, I wasn't really feeling it though. I got rejected by the Gorillas conspiracy theorist guy? What do you mean? Anyway. Wouldn't it be exciting if we were in the middle of such a plan? Would you stop Zin if you saw through everything?
I'm not excited about being caught up in this. I can say that much. But you liar. But if I get a chance to take these guys down, I absolutely would. I won't let them get away with this shit.
I see. Me, I'm just curious. I can't wait to know how this plan ends. Sadly, there's still a while till that. Maybe they need those 12 hours for something. The number of hours is something both Kate and Suripo said, so it'd be strange if it turned out to be wrong. No, it wouldn't! You just said they were conspiring!
Yeah, they're in it! Yeah! He can't keep his theory straight. It's like me playing Umineko. What the fuck is he doing? We'll have to see what happens.
I suppose so, but if this is an ongoing plan, they won't make it obvious. If they're trying to trick the Ashia family, we might get tricked too. This is why I've been trying to think about it, to avoid being fooled.
I didn't feel like saying anything else. A part of me thought that everything Sai was saying entailed pointless danger. I related to the interest, but not so much to his approach. In our situation, there was no reason for us to be in danger. It was something between Ashia and Zin. And we just found out Zin existed 5 seconds ago. Like, we'd just been caught up in the middle of it. Letting everything happen without giving our own input to strangers seemed like the smarter course of action. However, trying to piece stuff together on the side would probably not do any harm. Although I hadn't reacted, what Sai had said was intriguing. I'd let Suripo's words influence my thoughts with no opposition, but it was true that Kate had been the one who'd let us hear them. The first thing he'd said had been that Ashia had instructed them to talk to us without proving it at all. It hadn't sounded all that strange, but instead of telling the police what to let us know, Ashia could have said everything directly. By the way, is the music changed soon? Because we're like 22 minutes over time right now.
Yeah. What's going on? It is? Okay,
yes, it is?
Cool.
Okay, all right. Suripo had said that Ashia had told them about the communication method. Initially, the other side should have picked up by Ashia, who supposedly decided otherwise. While there was room for suspicion, thinking he might have been an actual corrupt policeman was probably absurd. If he had fed us false information, he would be exposed after we got out. I could feel my head getting cloudy. The tiredness was coming back, so I tried to cool off. Oh, it's here.
Music change.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So we'll find out what's going on in Sekimeiya next Sunday.
I got it right. I did this as a favor to you. That's right. Yeah, next Sunday. Cool. Thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for joining us. Do we want to talk about our thoughts so far, or do we want to save it for next time?
I think we've been pretty vocal about what we're thinking so far. Like, okay. I'm actually quite interested in the mystery. I want to see what happens. Yeah. I have similar thoughts to Umineko, but like probably a bit more harsh. That I feel like they're repeating themselves a bit too much, and also like Sai and fucking what's her name again? Katsuki are like our soliloquies are going on fucking a bit too long. Like I feel like you could have cut them in half and you could have had the same effect, but I don't know. It feels like they're enjoying themselves, and it's maybe they're meant to be like stand-ins for like the protagonist mindset when it comes to just like doing as much like theorizing as possible. But yeah, I'm interested in the mystery, and I quite like Sai as a character. Sai's interesting to me. He's entertaining, kind of like a Kokichi meets Akane from 999 sort of way. Like he's just kind of batshit. Yeah.
I feel I'm the same way. Like I'm interested to see what happens with the mystery. I do think I know that like the first few hours of a visual novel are basically the tutorial for how the visual novel is going to go. But I am getting annoyed, not just at the soliloquies, but like the computer cord thing was something that like we figured out on our own basically, right? Like I did not need them to immediately explain to me that was what happened. Like I don't like how much they're explicitly talking about stuff. But I think that's probably just because we're near the beginning and they want to like sort of train us on how to think about what's going on. But I am getting a little annoyed at the constant like, oh, so this is what actually happened kind of thing. So hopefully, well, Falzar is doing a smile. So, oh, and Kisuro's here to say yeah. So okay, well, anyway, it's been fun. But yeah, I am interested to see in where the mystery goes, and I'm really glad that you're here because you're gonna do all the heavy lifting on theorizing. Because I really am gonna be a pillow princess on writing this visual novel out because I don't want to do the theorizing. I don't want to do the theorizing.
I can't believe you just said that term. Yeah, well.
I just wanted to see what the chat would do. It was really good. Okay, anyway, I don't know what I'm playing on Wednesday. Who knows? But we will be reading this next week. Am I at least going to count down? Yeah, I'm going to count down. Okay, ready? 10, 9, 8,